Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I would like to welcome you all to this conference. I would like to welcome both our guests who are here physically with us. Thank you for taking the time to be here, even though, it was a very hectic ride to this place, I understand, given the traffic jam situation. I would also like to welcome our online guests, or let me say our guests who are online, who are joining us online from all over the world. A very good morning to you as well. Thank you very much for your patience. When we started with the online part of the conference, I saw that there were many people who were already online. That shows us, how enthusiastic and ready you are to join us. So I hope you can hear me. Our guests online, can you maybe in the chat or somewhere say something? Father Musaman, can you hear? Father
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Father Musaman is one of our keynote speakers for today. Okay, so my name is Sahra Ahmed Koshin, ladies and gentlemen. I am the founder and the director of the Somali Gender Hub, an organization that is, solely existing to uplift Somali women's visibility in research, academia, and knowledge production. I will speak about the organization later on. I can see a big group of people just coming in the gate right now. As I speak, I can see them from here, but we will just continue. I would like to thank the Mawazo Institute for making it possible for us, the Somali Gender Hub, to financially and technically organize this event. We have Silvia here today joining us from the Mawazo, and she will speak about the organization, what it does, and how it supports women. One of our objectives today is to walk away with a list of opportunities. So I'm asking the young women here and men and those joining us online to be very observant, listen carefully to the different opportunities that will be shared here today. We will try as much as possible to make a note of them as all the speakers speak, but there will be indeed a number of opportunities that will be mentioned here today, resources, tools. So one of our objectives is actually to gather all of these different opportunities. I would also like to thank the BEA, the British Institute in East Africa. We are in their offices right now. Welcome. For hosting us, and many thanks to Louise actually for collaborating with us in terms of as far as the venue, the online possibility, and the catering is concerned. There is a attendance sheet that is somewhere on the tables. If you could kindly fill it with your information. Very important. We are thankful to have the Voice of America, VOA here. Mr. Qadar Haret and his colleague are joining us. They will be taking pictures and video clips for the VOA broadcast. They might also interview a few of you. I know they're interested in interviewing Father Musaman and Professor Fatima Ali, who are both joining us online. Okay, a number of logistical or technical announcements. So we have coffee and tea outside. We will also be having the refreshments during break, just literally opposite the door, and to your right are the toilets. Lunch will be served in the garden behind this building, but you will have plenty of time to see that later on. Please try to, as much as possible, take pictures and post them online. We have a hashtag hashtag women con women in HE, higher education, conference or CONF 23. So that is hashtag women HE for higher education, conf CONF 23. You can see it on our Twitter. We've been tweeting the past 5 years. So why are we gathered here today? The objectives of this conference are to explore and understand the situation of Somali women in research and academia, in as far as gaps are concerned, challenges and opportunities. 5 years ago, the Somali Gender Hub was established in Garowe, Puntland, state of Somalia. And the reason why we were a group of Somali women, highly educated, very active Somali women, and there was a trend. We observed that there was a lack of Somali women's voices in research and knowledge production. As you all know, when we're analyzing facts and the very complex situation of Somalia, researchers usually categorize that into 3 parts. They talk about the part before the war, the part during the war, and the part after the war. So whenever you read the introduction of any report, they talk about these 3 phases of Somalia's history. And we know that, during the war, there wasn't a lot of knowledge that was present on Somalia in terms of research, reliable data. And during the war, absolutely not. But after the war, there was a trend that we as Somali women intellectuals observed. We observed that that knowledge was being created on, and in the Somali regions by non-Somalis and predominantly male. So many of the reports that you saw that were online, or you saw abstracts, or you saw summaries of reports, and you always saw a foreign person's name on that report, or it was an institution that was established or existing in outside of Somalia or the Somali regions. And so we did not see Somali women's voices in these reports. There are very few Somali women who are professors, who are doing PhDs, who are associate professors, or who are into research and knowledge production. And we had a passion ourselves for research and this was in Somalia. And we met a group of 10 women, and we said, how can we change this? And we saw the need to have a sort of a platform, a central platform, where we can, first of all, document all and every sort of research project or report that was being written about Somali women, in order for us to understand who are these knowledge creators and who are the knowledge users, and how can we make a difference in terms of not only gathering this knowledge, but also allowing Somali women to participate fully in research, in academia, and in publishing or knowledge production. And so we created the Somali Gender Hub. And since our existence way back in 2018, we have actually trained a number of Somali women. I think about 212 Somali women that we have been able to train, both physically and online. We have an inbuilt training platform called Moodle that we use to train Somali women. We also make many opportunities available to Somali women to access in terms of very basic things like, how do you do research? How do you write a very good scientific paper? How do you do a literature review? So we wanted to strengthen the collaboration and networking between Somali women researchers themselves, so that they have a place where they can not only communicate, stay in touch, but also share important information. So our aim was to inform, first of all, Somali women. As you can see on the slide behind me, these three words or these three concepts are at the heart of the existence of the Somali Gender Hub. We aim to inform Somali women because access to information is very powerful. Huh? When you know, you do better. When you know about the existence of opportunities, you will apply. You will be part of that, opportunity. But if you don't have access to information, really, then you don't know what's happening around you. So inform, but also build the skill, build networks, build a community of practice of Somali women researchers, but also advance. Okay, I'm taking too long here. So some of our strategic initiatives are, to create a gender resource hub, conduct research and policy, because when you have information that you can tap into, you can use it to make a difference in the situation, particularly in the situation of Somali women. Training and capacity building, not only for a week, not only for a month, but for a sustainable period of time, because this is another thing that we noticed, that there are all kinds of capacity building programs existing in Somalia being delivered by different organizations, but they are usually for a number of days. And really, if you want to make a difference in somebody's life, because before you are the professional, you have the person to deal with. To become a professional, you have a person, and that person needs basic skills, communication skills, writing skills, English speaking skills, academic language skills. And so, capacity building tailored to the needs of Somali women. Monitoring and advocacy, we have been taking part in a number of initiatives that have been initiated by different organizations over the years, predominantly in and around the area of sexual and gender-based violence. And so when such a calamity happens, that we take part in campaigning, and women advocacy. And then finally, we also engage women in poetry and storytelling. If you go to our website, you will see that we have events occasionally, both online and physically, where women come together and speak about the different stories they have written. They recite, their poetry and storytelling. Okay, so this is a summary of our work: research, training, advocacy, resources. I'm not going to go into this. You can read all about this on our website. Some of the activities we have conducted thus far include, we've had a number of evening discussions. We've had a monthly women's roundtables where we try to understand what is the societal problem that, a burning problem that's happening at that time. And so we usually discuss this, and it's always about sexual and gender-based violence. We also had one-on-one calls with me, young women who, sort of asked me, Sahra, how did you get into, this PhD? I'm a PhD student myself. I am a PhD student at the University of Nairobi and also at the University of Copenhagen. And my project is looking at women, of course, mainly on Somali diaspora women and how they take part in humanitarian relief support during disasters in Somalia. And I'm looking at a particular case study of a flash flood that occurred in 2020 in Qardo town in Puntland state of Somalia. And I'm looking at how Somali diaspora women, organized to mobilize, deliver, and disseminate important humanitarian relief support and deliver before even the government, arrived at that disaster-stricken town. So very important to know about, how Somali women are organizing themselves and taking part in the development of Somalia. We have a database where we try to not only put information about Somali women, but also experts, Somali experts, gender experts, Somali women who are, very successful in life. We gather all the information. Some of our partners include ADRA Somalia, Mawazo, Puntland Women Rights Association, the Poland Association of Media Association. We are working very closely with the European Union, the World Pulse, Somali Public Agenda, Thrive, a very important organization in Kenya, led by Dr. Holly Ritchie. And we've worked with her in the past, and we look forward to working with her in the future as well. So we are working with a number of organizations, and sometimes even without financial support, we initiate, research. For example, the study that we will present to you later on today on the situation of scholarly publishing and dissemination in Somalia. That's all I've had for you for now, in terms of who we are, why this conference, and who are the people behind it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to follow us on social media, those are some of our social media platforms. If you could kindly now pick up the program and let's work through the program. So I've just spoken, and after I end my talk, I will call Silvia from the Mawazo, and she will speak to you about what the Mawazo is and what it does. After that, we will have Professor Fatima Ahmed join us online, and she's our keynote speaker. Then we will have a short break. Then we will have, after break, we'll have Fatima Ali Saman, also one of our keynote speakers for today. And then after that, we will have our first panel. Amal is here. Amal Mohamed. Okay. Hodman is here, yes. And Leyla Mohamed. Yes, wonderful. Then we will have, after they have spoken as our first panelists, we will have a Q&A and discussion. And then we will have our second panel just before lunch. And this will consist of Zakaria Hassan, who I know is online, Faduma Aden. Zakaria is joining us from Baydabo in Southwest State. You will talk about the challenges. In fact, the entire panel will talk about the challenges Somali women are facing on the ground in terms of accessing opportunities, but also retention issues, because we know that Somali women start, it is our experience, and we will share with you some of our experience later on, that, in the beginning, Somali women are very passionate about opportunities. They apply, they join, but maintaining, retaining, staying on board is very, very difficult. And there are reasons why that is the case. So after Zakaria, we'll have Faduma, and then we'll have Asma and Ikram join us. Ikram or Asma, both from the Somali Gender Hub. Then we will have a book launch by Narida. I think Narida is online. Narida, a lecturer in South Africa, will join us online. We were with her in Cologne in June, where she launched her book on Somali women in Isli, very important book. I actually have a copy here with me. And she will join us online and launch her book, but also speak about her project, on what she has done, with Somali women during her research. And then I think we'll have lunch then and prayers for an hour. Then I will come and talk about the findings of the study I mentioned earlier. Then we'll have Geoffrey from the RVI. The RVI are doing a number of projects on research training for women and for, African intellectuals, including Somali women and Somali men. And he will talk about that. And then we will have Eric join us, who is back there. Good to see you, Eric. And he will speak about his experiences with Somali women and Somali refugees in the refugee camps. Then we will have Nasra talk about the mental health and how it relates to, academia and higher education of Somali women. Very important. And then we will have finally, we will speak about our community of practice, because this conference will come to an end at some point. We will all go home and that's it. And we don't want that. We want to hear from you. We want to stay in touch. Please, let's follow each other on social media. Let's exchange, business cards. This is a very important opportunity to connect, to get to know about who your neighbor is. So speak to one another. This is a very informal gathering, ladies and gentlemen. Even though it may look very formal and everything, it's really a very interactive, informal gathering, also bilingual. If you prefer to speak Somali, no problem. Yeah, and at the end of this session, around, this conference around 3:30, we will share with you the list of opportunities that have been mentioned by the different speakers. I myself have mentioned a number of opportunities here. I don't know if you made a note of them. I mentioned the RVI, I mentioned the BEA, I mentioned Eric's work, I mentioned Dr. Naraida, and many other opportunities. So please keep a note of this, because really we are here to give you information, but not in terms of just theory, but practical information. Okay, enough said. I would like to end here and call on Silvia. Silvia, welcome to speak about the Mawazo. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sahra. I think you've done majority of my work for me, seeing that we have many areas of mutual interest. I do not have an elaborate presentation, as Sahra saw in the theme of informal. I hope you'll be able to hear me, and this will suffice. So good morning, everyone. I'm Silvia Mwenda. I'm the Voices Programme Officer at the Mawazo Institute. And a bit of a background of what we do at Mawazo Institute. We are a women-led organization that supports early career African women researchers on the continent. And this support is twofold. We have capacity development through a 15-month fellowship training. And then we also have our second program called Mawazo Voices, where we aim to amplify the work of our researchers. Now, for the fellowship, it runs for 15 months, and we provide training, we provide mentorship support. We also do provide financial resources for women undertaking their research work. And this could be from attending conferences to the very specific challenges women who are undergoing their PhDs on the continent might face. It could be childcare, it could be personal struggles you're dealing with. So it's very multifaceted, the type of support we provide. Now we are currently in our third iteration for the fellowship. We started in around 2018 with 10 fellows, and we have since grown to 40 fellows. So we've had around 50 fellows pass through our program. As for the Voices program, where we met Sahra, our Voices program aims to elevate the work of our researchers. Now, we amplify this work through public engagement, policy engagement, strategic partnerships, and again, also financial support for their research activities. And basically, what we try to do in the Voices program is increase their visibility of their work and through our various platforms. So actually, we met Sahra, I believe, around 2021. She was recommended to us through our founder, Dr. Rose Mutiso, and we heard about the work she's doing with Somali women in higher education. We were also looking to expand the support we provide. So she, in fact, was our inaugural policy fellow in 2021, and we were able to support her on that journey with I believe, the first Somali Gender Hub conference. So it's very exciting to see how she's been able to grow, and also the Somali Gender Hub has been able to grow through the years. And we actually used the work that Sahra did with the policy fellowship to build our Connects fund. So the Connects fund, we're able to provide financial resources for our fellows, and it could be on their research activities. Some of these look like the policy work Sahra is doing here with the Somali Gender Hub. Others, it looks like prototypes for the research that our fellows are developing in their in their research. It could be conference activities, but now the main difference is that the Connects Fund is aimed towards our alumni who are currently 50. So as we worked with Sahra, unfortunately, Sahra was the first and last policy fellow. So after the success of her policy fellowship in 2021, and also Mawazo, we are a young organization around 6 to 7 years right now. So we evolved the policy fellowship into the Connects Fund because we saw we have a growing number of alumni. How do we keep these women in the Mawazo ecosystem, and also providing African women researchers a network for continental research collaboration. So that is why we decided to form the Connects Fund, and also Sahra has also benefited. She's a recipient of the Connects Fund. So we've definitely worked together a lot over the past, I would say, 3 or so years. So this is very exciting, the work you're doing with the Somali Gender Hub, and us as Mawazo Institute, we are delighted to be here, and we are looking forward to exploring the many opportunities for Somali women in the field of higher education and also building of their skills. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Silvia, for the information you shared about the Mawazo and how I joined, of course. So if you're interested to know more about the Mawazo, first of all, follow them on social media. Access to information is very important. There's a lot they're doing for women, especially women in STEM areas, STEM studies. But if you want more practical information, like, how to go about it, you can always approach me, both to you here, but also online. You can write to me and I can share with you some practical information about the Mawazo Institute and how, I joined, and all the information that you may need. So I see that the room is getting fuller. Welcome to our guests who have just joined us. In fact, I'm very curious to know who you all are. I've introduced myself. So to break the ice, and before we go on to our keynote speaker, I think she also might want to know who you all are, where you are from. So let me just briefly, if you could just kindly, just say your name and maybe the organization you represent or you're working with. Thank you. We can start with Sumaya.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good morning. My name is Sumaya Abdikadir. I'm the youth coordinator at Fair Trade Africa, and I'm also a current student at Strathmore pursuing my master's in public policy. Nice to see you all, and I hope I'll interact with all of you.
Thank you, Sumaya.
Hello again, I'm Silvia Mwenda with the Mawazo Institute.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Naima Musa. I'm from Hodman Enterprise Limited. I'm the director.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Hodman Mohamed, known as Hodman Dobale. I'm representing Somali Gender Hub and the role of advocacy coordinator, and I'm also as one of the students who's finally doing her master's on international relations and diplomacy from Kenyatta University. I'm also a businesswoman, worked over 10 years in the industry of airlines, and holding a Bachelor of Science Travel and Tourism Management, and that's my work, my career. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Hodman. So if you ever want to book a ticket, Hodman has a travel agency where we all buy our tickets from. So, networking just here in this room. Welcome.
Morning, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Dr. Fatuma Hersi, and I'm a communications consultant. Currently, I'm working with the World Bank Somalia.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Zamzam Abdel.
I am one of the master's students at University of Nairobi pursuing armed conflict and peace studies, and I will be talking to you later, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Fatma Abdullahi, Fatma Ladan, youth advocate and freelance journalist. Nice to meet you all.
Okay, I am Kader Haret, a graduate student at the United States of America, USIU, and also a journalist for Voice of America, Somali Service. Good to know you all.
Welcome.
Hi guys, my name is Abdu Jama.
Hi everyone. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sahra Ahmed. I'm a peace, security and development specialist. I'm currently a policy and research associate at the African Leadership Center, King's College London, and I've consulted or currently consulting with an initiative called Africans for the Horn, which focuses on the Horn region of Africa. And my area of research predominantly has been around citizenship and identities.
Hello, everyone. My name is Leyla Mohamed. I work for International Media Support, a Danish NGO based in Denmark. I'm the editor of Radio Ergo, a unique Somali service based in Kenya, but reporting from Somalia. I'm doing masters in journalism and leadership at University of Lancashire in the UK, and I did master's degree at Kenyatta University. Good to see you all and meet you.
You're also one of our panelists today.
Good morning all. My name is Ikhlas Abdurrahman. I recently graduated my master's in Istanbul Aydın University from Turkey. So I currently represent an organization based in Garowe, Puntland, Somalia, called Safe Life Organization, which is a non-governmental organization that was established in 2021. So pleased to meet you all.
Hi, Ikra Abdullah.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Peter Moran, a student at Nairobi University pursuing my master's degree in environment, pursuing my master's degree in climate change adaptation, and currently interested with refugee and forced migration. Thank you. Oh, I'm an attaché with the Refugee Red Research Hub. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Charles Wafula, Program Coordinator, Higher Education System Strengthening Project in Somalia, funded by the EU and implemented by Kenyatta University. Looking forward to interact with all of you. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Sahra Ahmed. I'm with the BIEA, a GAS intern. I recently just done my master's in international development at University of Manchester. Thank you for having us. I'm really excited to learn from all of you and learn how to get involved too. Thank you.
Thank you all. Charles, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Charles, and yeah, I think I can go before then. My name is Charles, and I do IT, but my main one, I have two professions, IT and filmmaking, but now I'm dropping the IT. I want to do film. Thanks.
Good morning. It's so good to see all of you. My name is Eric Kioko. I'm a lecturer at Kenyatta University, but on sabbatical leave for some time. I'll be based here as a postdoctoral research fellow. I'm also a lecturer at the University of Bonn in Germany. And I recently found myself at the Dadaab refugee camps last week. And I'll just be sharing later on my experiences at the refugee camps. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Frank, and I'm also a graduate intern here at the BIA. It's nice to meet you all.
Thank you. So I think we have pretty much introduced ourselves, everybody. Sorry to our guests online. We will not accord you the opportunity to introduce yourselves. I am sorry about that, but you can introduce yourself in the chat. I am reading in the chat here, and also taking questions later on during the panels. Thank you so much.
The next part of the conference is the introduction of our first panel. So what we're going to do here is I'll introduce our very able panelists, and then I'll basically just set the ground rules for the discussion of the panelists, and then move on from there. So panel one consists of Amal Mohamed, who's a student at Kenyatta University, Hodman A, who is a member of the Somali Gender Hub, Leyla Mohamed, who's a journalist with IMS and Radio Ergo, and Zamzam Abbas, who is a master's student at University of Nairobi. So just to give us a brief idea of how this is going to run, the panelists will basically address us individually from their comfort zones, and then they'll introduce themselves and kick off the discussions. Amal, maybe we can start with you in terms of introduction. Please introduce yourself.
I like to face the people that I'm talking to, so that's why I wanted to sit here. Okay, my name is Amal Mohamed Abdelkader. I'm a third-year law student at Kenyatta University, and I'm an author. I wrote my first book when I was in class 7, that's Deception, which basically talks about sexual harassment in boarding schools by teachers. And I later wrote my second book, Shades of Hope, which revolves around the challenges Somali parents face in raising their children from the refugee camps and working on their success. Am I audible enough?
Yes. Yeah. And then we'll go to Samsung.
Okay, I thought it's just for introduction.
Yeah, we're introducing the panel now. Yes. Before we kick off the discussions.
Okay. As I've introduced myself earlier, my name is Zamzam Abbas, and I'm a student at University of Nairobi, currently pursuing Masters and Conflict and Peace Studies. So today I just wanted to share with you, how mentorship and having strong support systems around you can really encourage you to pursue higher education. So I'll be discussing more later. Thank you.
Thank you. Hodman?
Yeah. My name is Hodman Mohamed Ahmed from Advocates Manager Coordinator in Somali Gender Hub, and a student from Kenya Methodist University, so doing my Master in International Relations and Diplomacy. I'm here today to discuss more on the challenges Somali students in Kenya.
Thank you, Hodman. Leyla, please introduce yourself.
Again. Hello, my name is Leyla Mohamed. I'm the editor of Radio Ergo, a unique Somali service for humanitarian news, and I work for International Media Support, NGO, a Danish NGO based in Denmark. I'm here to speak about the opportunities and challenges in education and more of journalists and women.
Thank you so much. I don't know if you're comfortable. I would like to suggest that you could move either to that chair or this chair so that it's easier for discussion. Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. So now that we've heard from our panelists and their introduction, this panel will focus their discussions around female students in Kenya, their experiences, their challenges, and their opportunities. So to kick off the discussions, we can decide to set ground rules around maybe 5 minutes per speaker, and then go into discussions right after that. So if that's okay with everyone, we could go right back to Amal.
Okay, I think I'm one of the students in here that have schooled in Nakuru County. Basically, I was the only Muslim student in my class in primary, in high school, and right now in university. So you can understand the challenges. But in primary, there are not much challenges. However, the high school that I went to, I don't want to say this as a disclaimer because you'll just go to the media and search about the high school that I went to, but that's where you meet discrimination at its peak. Talking about Muslim students being forced to do CRE, I did CRE my entire life and I had an A, and all the Muslims from my school had an A. We were the leading, in fact. And we don't have any problem with that. The thing is now, even before I go to the challenges that we have been facing, the school administration, before we blame the school administration and the Ministry of Education, like, was it Charles Wafula or Jackson, was saying, he insisted on the Constitution. Article 43 of the Constitution insists on every child having basic right to education. Article 53 insists on free and compulsory education. Article 55 insists on education for the marginalized communities and minorities. And Article 56 stipulates it stipulates on the rights of the equal rights in education, the spatial opportunities. When we talk about spatial opportunities, we don't just mean the opportunities for people with disabilities. We mean in a circumstance where you are the only Muslim in a school, you have the right to pray. Yes, we were being forced to go to churches. We used to kneel down during prayers by force. But we only had two options for our prayers. It's either you pray in front of the toilet where you understand, when it's washed, whether it's wet, whether it's dry, you have to pray there or you don't pray. If you excuse yourself, you want to go and pray in the field, you are being expelled or suspended. That's where we were, that's where I schooled. And alhamdulillah, today I'm so proud because some things that were, we didn't get enough support as Muslims. But apart from being an author, I was also an environmentalist since I was in class 6. I got my first environmental award in class 7. I got my second environmental award in Form 3. I got my third environmental award in Form 4. And I got my fourth environmental award when I was in high school, university second year, that's last year, July. Wow. So before we blame the school administration now and the Ministry of Education, we have these Somali political leaders that we have elected, not just from Northeastern. I think a quarter of Kenya's political leaders are Somalis. But apparently, instead of them representing us at the national level, and you are distracting me. Apparently, we were being disturbed to remove the hijab and trouser. And instead of, we were trying to come with our parents, where we get help from them, then they called for us two Somali political leaders who sided with them, literally. And one of them was a female and she was not wearing hijab. Now, how are you going to convince the administration? What is your level of being a Muslim? How a good Muslim are you if this political leader is not wearing hijab? What rewards are you getting for wearing the hijab? You can't convince them. So those are the kind of challenges we are facing. The Muslim political leaders are not representing us. They are not favoring us. we are just electing them, but we are not benefiting from them. I think that's my point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amal. Zamzam, you also have 5 minutes.
It's okay. Thank you, Amal, for that. I think for me, I'll take you through the positive side now. For real, because I'm talking about mentorship, how it has been important in my life, an instrumental aspect. For me, in my high school, I don't want to focus more in high school and primary because most critical issues have been discussed by Dr. Fatima and also Amal. I was glad to school in a school whereby Muslims were really prioritized by our administration. We could get a place to pray, go for Eid, get, snacks during our Ramadan, alhamdulillah. And then during my undergraduate years, the story that I wanted to tell you today is my research phobia story. When I was in undergraduate, I did a double major just to, escape from research dissertation at the end instead of focusing on one department. And then immediately after undergraduate, I thought I need to get a job. I just take a break from studies. But through peer mentorship from a lady, Somali female student who had done her master's, she really pulled me, and mentored me. You need to go back to school before you get a job, apply for scholarship. I never knew our institutions, they give us, opportunities to apply for scholarships for masters. Alhamdulillah, I was successful. I got the scholarship at University of Nairobi, went back to school, but I still had the research phobia with me. I was thinking about how am I going to do my project? So through her, I also got, to take part in a research seminar, collaborative research from students from Bonn University at Germany and Kenyan universities within Kenya through BIA, this institution. We went for a research, fieldwork research, and then I learned different research methodologies, how to present your findings through poems, plays, something that I could never learn in class. It was really amazing. And I can say I overcame my fears of research. And then I realized how mentorship is really important. And through Aisha, I got the scholarship. I got the connection to go to that research seminar. And then when you are mentored, you also mentor other students. So right now, what we are trying to do is create a pool of network between university students, Somali female students. We encourage each other to go back to university immediately after your undergraduate, apply for the scholarships, apply for the opportunities that are given to us by our institutions. So now we have so many female students in our social sciences department, alhamdulillah. That's really, I think, a great improvement. For the undergraduates, we have a good presentation. In a class of 50, maybe 30 are Somalis, but we still lack a good number in masters, especially PhD. So that has been the positive impact of peer mentorships within ourselves. And then also my institution has really encouraged me because the first time I was given this, scholarship, I was told, we have not given you this scholarship based on merit, but we want to encourage you as a Somali because we are lacking representation in our institution. We don't have Somali female lecturers. We want you to be the next academician, So that meant, how having strong support systems can really encourage you to continue with your education. Alhamdulillah. And then finally, the cultural aspect. I got positive feedback from my society, the people around me, when I started continuing in my master's. And then the Somali excellence theme has really been a strong factor in my life. When we hear success stories of other Somali students, Somali people in such such conferences, it encourages you as a person to continue fueling your passion. But also there have been the negative aspect. Sometimes you meet someone, oh, what are you doing? Masters, oh, are you married? So like, bugle, such comments. So for real, those are such of the negative comments.
Yeah.
Okay, oh, sorry for our non-speakers. Sometimes when you meet new people, and you tell them you're doing masters or PhD, they feel like it's equivalent to not getting married. You're not going to get a good suitor or something. So exactly. but
You'll be
I
too
guess-
overqualified.
Yeah, you're too overqualified for the men around, you know. But I can say some of the most mentors in my life have been male professors and parents, you know. And then finally having role models have been important. For instance, one of my role models has been Sahra Ahmed online. So and they have encouraged me and believe that you can strike a balance between culture, religion, and being an academician. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zamzam, for those insights. We'll take the next 5 minutes following the next panelist, Hodman.
Thank you.
And just before she starts, maybe a change of engagement. The panelists could either come up front or address us from there, depending on their comfort. But I think it would be better if, you know, they were here. So, Hodman? Oh, okay. The audience online, are you guys able to see the presentation?
I want someone who can. Yes,
so anyway, our audience online, if you guys could see the presentation, just let us know in the chat box so that you're not left behind. Or anybody who has Sahra's contact can let her know via WhatsApp.
Welcome, Hodman.
No,
Yeah.
we can't see the presentation.
You can't see the presentation?
Yeah, it's there. I put it already. Challenge faced by Somali.
We'll just wait for Charles
Good.
and then we'll.
I think it's afternoon right now. Good afternoon, everyone.
I don't think people online can see the
You can
presentation.
see?
I think they can.
They can or can't?
Can't.
Sorry. Where is the Zoom?
It should be there. Yeah.
So here.
We need to share screen. Yeah, there we go. And then,
This one here.
yeah. There we go. So I'm pretty sure that we can all see it now online.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, great. So
No,
Hodman,
continue, please.
yeah, welcome.
Good. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming and be with us today as a Somali Gender Hub organization worker. I'm welcoming you, everyone, to join us, and we are glad that you are all here and you have accepted our invitation. We are proud and we are thankful. My name is, as I have already mentioned, Hodman Ahmed. I will not be taking long. I will be very brief and short. Personally, I have never met so many challenges because I went to my school in Northeastern Mandera through primary and high school. I was in a boarding school for 3 years and in a primary in Bulembia Primary. And that was actually, we were only Somalis. We have never faced any challenge. But when we are in Nairobi, the situation, I have started working and after working, I went to university and I have seen the challenge that Somali students face directly from Somalia, how they are being treated and how they are facing in school. Because also I'm a travel consultant and I know so many documentations how they are going through. And first of all, the first problem that they normally face students from Somalia is the language barrier. Many students may not be fluent in English and Swahili language which is the medium one spoken in Somalia, in Kenya. Discriminations and stigmatizations. Somali students in Kenya often endure stigmatization, owning their ethnicity, which can damage their self-esteem and integration into the school community, which have already, one of us already mentioned in how they have been treated. Limited to access to education. You have seen how Northeastern are being treated. It's one of good example of living where the expertise have already mentioned in front of us while we were here. Can I? Yeah, they left. Yeah, it's not working. Yeah, continue. Yeah, limited to access to education. Our expertise, who was there on the ground, who was a professor, have already mentioned and talked about it. Okay, post-trauma stress. Many Somali students have experienced trauma. I'm one of the living proof, because for me, there's a time that I wasn't able to concentrate the studies because of trauma at home, how the things were. My father was assassinated. He was shot to death 3 times on head. And then whenever explosions and problems or conflicts or any terror happens in Somalia, I revert to my father, and that was a case that, I got what is called this kind of a disease is called what I got a kind of, what's called that one, panic attack. I've got panic attack because of the past trauma that had on me. So I'm one of the living proof that Somali students, they need counseling. They need, environment that can welcome them. Culture and religion differences. Culture and religion, when this thing I'm writing is a fact, what is based on fact, because the 6 years that I'm right now, and when I was doing my degree and now a master's in my university, these things I have already, and the information that written here, it's something that is factual and touchable and based on reality. Somali students may encounter difficulty in reconciling their cultural and religion, because you might, when you are in the class, the studies still continue, and you need to go in a prayer time. When it's prayer time and you are doing masters, you are doing degree in a prayer time, you need to be excused, but still the studies continue, and you have to go out and pray when the studies is still continued. So no one will give you an excuse. You will come back when already some of the notes or information have already passed you. So in this case, as a Muslim, as a Somali, you have to be considered, you have to be given, I think some lecturers are here. They have to write down this information and get back to the university and help the students who are Muslim, that we share with the rest of Muslims, because we are not the only Muslims in the university. Okay, lack of information. When Somalis, actually those Somalis from Somalia, when they are coming, the expectation is very high and they don't have more information. So when the students are already been enrolled in the university, I encourage this, the principal, the registrars and the academics to help them, give them information that can help them, or maybe even the language, they give them a space whereby they can teach them. I'm giving them a program that can boost, because they already have degrees. They have never been learning through their education English. So it's need to be helped or maybe recognized. So these cases. Recognition, equation, and certification. This is where the problem is. When they have certificates or like high school, they need NEC and KNQA. They don't recognize. They need to be recognized. They need to be proved. They need to be, certified again. So in this case, these are one of the barriers that may be tackled as well. Somali students normally face to be enrolled it will be very hard for them to be enrolled unless they bring those certifications. Another problem the Somali students face in Kenya, those who are holding Somali passport from Somalia, for them to have the visa, student visa, the pass, there's no connection between the migration and the university. They cannot process as it is needed, and that will bring to a risk for them to live in a foreign country whereby everyone and every student or every a foreigner required to have a visa. In this case, universities, they have to do inclusive atmosphere. They have to create a home for the student and make easier the process for the visa, for the student visas to be processed quickly as possible, because they are paying, they are here for education. They are not here to bring problems to anyone. For them, when they are outside and the police will see them without having identifications, without having any proof where they are, why they are here. So please, a student card, it's not enough. Help them to have a student. I encourage the universities to help them to have a student visa quickly. As it is 2 years. I know it's 2 years, but how long? The process is not that faster. When a student's about to finish the university, maybe that's the time you are giving, and that is not helpful. Please. Yeah. So, okay, there's immense problems. There's nothing more harder for a foreign student who are here in Nairobi and don't have a visa. What proof that the authority, I need at this case, authorities and the immigrations and the university, let them create a room for the Somali student, actually foreigners, to have the requirement why they're here. Something that showed them, at least write for them a letter showing that they are here for, talk to the migration, let the migration himself provide those things, documentations to the student. I have seen so many of my colleagues who are suffering because of that case, who are in the jail, who are being arrested, who have been given out something. I don't want to mention that. Please, and you know that. Help Somali students. And that's why here I came here. I will have stayed and say something like small, but why I came here is because I know how I'm not one of them. I know how my colleagues are suffering. I know. So many foreigners from outside. I know how they are suffering. I know what they are facing. When they go to sleep, they are sometimes being arrested. Sometimes they give out something. And that is unfair because they're already here to learn. They are not like the other people, please. So that's my conclusion. And the number of when it comes to enrollment for Somali students, I encourage Somali women, especially Somali female, to enroll universities. The number is very less, and we need more Somali students to be in the front line. I mean, female to be front line, like Sahra. I'm very proud of her, and also Fatima. What was Fatima Ali? She really encouraged me. So I don't know. I became someone else. I was diving above. Yeah, she took me to another world that I wanted to hear, something that I wanted to hear from someone who's highly learned, actually. And I'm thankful for Sahra for teaching me, for training me to be part of Somali Gender Hub, who has given me the opportunity for me to continue with my studies. And also, actually, Sahra has helped me so many ways. Because of her, I'm here. Because of her, I'm finishing my university. Because of her,
oh wow!
Actually, because of her, I got 4A 1B the last time. I'm so proud of her. Thank you so much. Through her organization, she helped me so much, and I don't know what to thank her. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, that is so lovely. Thank you so much, Adman, for that. So now that we've heard from our panelists, I think as the day goes on, we realize how important it is to ensure that our women and our daughters and our children are educated and just how rudimentary it is overall. I'll open up. So just before we get into the open discussions for this panel, I'd like to call on Leyla. Whatever you're comfortable with, that's not a problem. So we'll just hear from Leyla, and then we'll open up the discussions for this panel.
Are we together so far? Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel.
I know.
I kind of sorry. I think over.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Very spontaneous. I kind of feel energy.
I think people are hungry. Low key.
Stand up. Come on, stand up. I feel like people are not here. It's so shockingly quiet. It's so shockingly quiet. Is there any Somali woman who can sing for us some poetry or some Brahmo? Yeah? Oh man. You know, some poetry, something energizer. Come on.
Okay.
haweenka Soomaaliyeed waa heegan daacado halganka joojin mayno jeeraan yimi la gaarno ma wada aqaan miraha iga raali noqdo.
That was great. No, really, because I often go to these conferences where you have the people over there speaking, and then you have the rest of the audience in another corner, very distant, very far away, in feeling, in everything, in participation. And I kind of feel that that's where we're headed, and I don't want that to happen here. Okay, Charles, are we on the same boat? Yeah, Somaya. I don't feel that. I don't feel that. Geoffrey, are you with us? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to have our last panelist, Leyla, tell her story, and then the program is going to change slightly, and I think it's inevitable. It's almost 1, right? Isn't it? So we're gonna have to go for lunch and prayers. So I'm afraid that after this panel, we'll go for lunch. We'll come back and continue with the program. And I'm very, very sorry about this, but it's the way it is, isn't it? So I also, after break, after lunch, it's gonna be even more quiet, because my experience is that after a heavy lunch meal, especially being a Somali where, we're used to a siesta. In Somalia especially, that's where I'm from. After lunch, we usually take a nap. It's not a bad thing, It's very refreshing because we wake up very early for prayers, like 4 a.m. So I'm gonna have to ask you all to dance after lunch. Yeah, so think of, each table must produce some kind of artistic performance, Yeah, over there. There's already an idea of a suggestion over there. No, but honestly, after lunch, it's going to be even more quiet, is my fear. So after lunch, you will have poetry recitals, we'll have dance and drama and brambur. Yeah, Leyla, Fatima Sahra. Fatima Sahra, are we together? Yeah, you're gonna do some brambur for us later on. Yes, you're gonna have to, because otherwise you will be headed towards that dreaded conference, where you have the them and us kind of thing. Leyla is next on board. Leyla, welcome.
Thank you, Sahra. I can see you all now. I was just sitting in the back. It's a good day today, discussing education and women and higher education. That's very fruitful discussion, and I think it needs the conversation needs to go inside the country. I know there are Somalis in Kenya and Ethiopia and elsewhere, but the country is the most affected place where women drop out of education. Some don't go to school. Some are are not getting the real opportunities because we are from poor people, poor families. So we are not all privileged. And speaking of my education journey, I concluded my master's degree at Kenyatta University, and now I study journalism and leadership at a university in the UK. And it was a scholarship. I wasn't intended to do another master, but that was luck. And I was lucky to get that scholarship. And in my undergraduate, I used to wear niqab the whole education journey. So that has been a challenge, had been a challenge, but I've moved to Kenya in 2017 to start my master's degree. And some of you have mentioned challenges in high schools and universities, but I have not encountered any. I was lucky maybe. And I am a Somali. I have a Somali passport, traveling to all over the world and staying in Kenya with permit. So I try to be less other thing but Somali. And I was the first to graduate, undergraduate in my family, and I am the first to have master's degree. No one else in my family has that privilege. And I like to encourage all of the women and girls in my country. And not only you all of you have been to schools and universities, but some have not gotten that opportunities. So I work in the media, and through the media, we encourage girls to go to school. Schools have positions for girls and, slots for people living with disabilities. And that has been a long journey, but I think some have done a good job to educate girls and women. And there are old women who are trying now to go to education, and it doesn't matter how old are you. It's just if you are willing to educate yourself, you can do it. And there are some obstacles. Maybe some are, you can challenge yourself to do more. And every journey I started, I just encouraged myself to do what I did. But if someone is not willing to do whatever it takes to go to education, to get jobs, that will be an obstacle, faced by many women by themselves. So I think in Kenya, you are all, asking the government and people you fought for to give girls education, but in our country, that has been, I don't know, it's like it's not the same. So we have challenges. We face challenges by our own environmental situations. So in our country, in Somalia, the most challenge is security. Here, alhamdulillah, there's a security. And when I was wearing niqab to go to university, I was afraid of myself to go to university because I encouraged myself to just do it, whatever it takes. But I would have been dropped out if, I don't know, but I didn't. So the other challenges are, prioritizing men, boys, when educating children. And that has been one of the challenges faced by girls in Somalia. And I think we all need to think of those young girls who didn't get the chance to go to schools. And maybe if they are now ready to educate themselves, even if they are above 20 or something, we can still help them. So we need to help those girls as maybe individuals or as groups. So the other thing that I noticed in Somalia is there are no women teachers. Fewer are there in Somalia. And if more women were teaching or lecturing universities, we could have been getting maybe more girls in the schools and universities, but that's another challenge. And there was a story made by a young lawyer, I think it was last month or so. She said she never had a woman lecturer in her university. She studied law. And I think that's how it is in Somalia. And maybe if some have been learning law or studying in Kenya or elsewhere, they need to go to the country and encourage women to study law or maybe become lawyers, because injustice is what put us the situation we are in. So that's all I can say, maybe. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Leyla.
Let me just add one thing. I just noticed I missed it, and it's my note. So women journalists in Somalia, that's where I wanted to speak more, but I think we don't have more time. It's all women that need to go to universities or schools, but more of journalists. Women do not educate themselves. They are just like, if they have maybe high school certificate, more of them have maybe some jobs that cannot even get them more payments or salary. They just like that. So that's another thing I've been working to encourage female journalists to go to universities, educate. This experience I faced when I was starting my undergraduate. It's probably the fan. Yeah, okay. So I was told to choose going to university or working in a media outlet. It was in 2013, and I chose to just go to university without having any job. So that was what maybe, yeah, education has been one of the most endeavors that I have had. So yeah, just that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Leyla. Another round of applause for our panelists. That concludes the first panel. Usually we'd go into discussion, but given that time isn't exactly on our side, I think we can resume the discussion specifically for this particular first panel right after the lunch and prayer break. So without further ado, if you have any questions, any queries, any sort of discussions that are tied to this particular panel, please write them down, jot them down, and then we'll address them right after that. So with that said, Sahra, can I break the room for lunch and prayers? Okay, so lunch and is being served at the garden, and I'm pretty sure the prayers can be conducted either individually or in a space provided by BIEA, I guess. So yeah. For those of us who are online, feel free to take your lunch break as well. We'll resume at exactly 2 p.m. so that you guys could hear us. Just before we went on the break, we had our first group of panel, or rather panelists. Obviously, the very formidable group made of Amal, Hodman, Leyla, and Zamzam. Before we went on a break, I did not thank them enough for their participation and their wealth of knowledge. So thank you so much for your input, for your knowledge, for your expertise, and for your overall outlook on the topics at hand, especially when it comes to the experiences, the challenges, the opportunities revolving around female students in Kenya. So once again, thank you very, very much. Maybe we can open up the floor for a 5-minute question answer discussion to that particular panel. Anyone who had any particular question that they noted down, any sort of comment that you had jotted down that you'd like to share? I'll start with our in-person audience, and then we'll move on to our online audience. That's going to be another 5 minutes, and then right after that, at exactly 2:30, I'd like for us to kickstart our second panel, and then move on to the book launch and so on and so forth. Anyone?
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. You guys respond because you're
Wa
from
alaikum
Italy.
salam.
I want you guys to be energetic. I don't have any particular question to the first panelist, but I wanted to add a comment. I was inspired by how all of you guys were young people and you've undergone challenges to be where you are. I could relate to the ladies who studied in Kenya. Mostly when you go to high school, you don't wear hijab, you go for mass, you do CRE. But I believe those challenges made us to be strong. Like it made us learn how to survive and thrive in an environment whereby it's not Muslim friendly, and it has made us, mashallah, be the women we are here today. And I would like the only thing I would want to add, the fact that you guys underwent challenges and you are strong and you could overcome it. I would try to tell you guys to go back to your schools and mentor your young self. The 15-year-old, I'm called Sumaya, the 15-year-old Sumaya would be very proud of the woman she's become. So it is my initiative to go give back to the society. Look for 15-year-old girls who are trying to undergo teenagehood and all the challenges that comes with it, and you being a Muslim girl. So yeah, that's the only thing I wanted to add. And I'm doing like a mentorship for marginalized ladies. So if anyone is interested to be part of it, if you feel like you want to give your expertise to young girls in Northeastern, Marsabit, Lamu, Malindi, and you don't want to join, you can just reach out to me to make a difference in the society. I don't think we can make a difference to the whole society, but at least 1 or 2 people can do it. And as a young person, I'm very passionate about the youth, and I can, in this room, there's so many young people. I believe we are the change makers. So when you talk about our current politicians, if they're not working, you in your capacity, what are you doing to actually change the community around you? We are the ones who will be tomorrow's leaders, you know? Like, are you true to yourself, and do you do what is supposed to be right? So that's what I wanted to challenge each one of you. Like, just do whatever you can in your capability, and inshallah, 2 people making something right makes the society a better place.
Wonderfully put, Samia. Thank you so much for
Wait,
that.
before I end, I feel like, I forgot this. I always tell myself this, and I think the gentlemen in the room will forgive me, but I would want every lady to repeat these words after me. I'm a Muslim girl. I cover my I cover my head, but I don't cover my brains. I feel like when you tell yourself that every time you can walk into rooms full of opportunities, and that should not limit you. You should not think you're any different from other ladies. Being a lady, you're already marginalized. Being a Muslim lady, you are like a third-class citizen in this country. So you should always tell yourself, I'm covering my head. My hijab is covering my head and not my brains. And I want you guys to repeat that after me. I'm a Muslim girl covering my head and not my brains.
I'm a Muslim girl covering my head, but not my brain.
Yes, you should always tell yourself that, and it makes a big difference.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Samaya. We'll take one more from our audience here, two more from our audience here, and then see if anybody online has any additions to it. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. My name is Rahma, and I'd like to ask Amal Mohamed from Kenyatta University a question. Earlier when she was talking about her personal experience in, I don't remember, was this primary school or high school? I felt like she was kind of talking about me because we had a very similar experience from primary school. I was the only student, a Muslim student, I think, in my class. I also went to a public school, and the school had thousands of students because it was a public school. But then one thing that I didn't experience was of course, there was no IRE, so I was also forced to do CRE, not by the trainers, not by the teachers, but by the system forced me. I mean, at the end of the day, once you finish your course, your school, you're required to do a number of units, and that's the only way you can graduate. But then the trainers or my teachers did not force me to do CRE. And I understand the reason why there was no IRE, the Islamic Religious Studies, because again, like I said, I was the only student in my class. And so when I feel like many times when we are talking about this challenge, we take it personal. We make it like it was coming from the trainers, and it's really not. So when my sister was talking about being the only Somali Muslim woman in school, she mentioned that they were forced to not wear the hijab. And then there was the issue of prayers. Sorry, I'll just finish it. My question is, were you forced by the teachers not to wear the hijab, or was it the environment? I mean, you are a child, you're a baby, you're the only one who's wearing hijab. So I'd like to just for her to clarify that. And then Hodman was also talking about the higher education, the university level, where you're not given a couple of minutes to go and pray, even during exam time. And I think that's one of the major challenge that Muslim women are really are having when they're in universities, especially even in exams. You're not given a second, just 5 minutes to do to pray and come back, and that's really it's something very painful. So just.
Thank you so much for your questions. I'll take the last one, and then the questions are addressed to can quickly answer them before we move into our second group of panelists.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Mudio. We are just coming from a Dadaab refugee camp where we were doing some research, and the lady who presented on journalism, I think it's you, triggered me to remember some very brilliant refugee girls, very young girls in their early 20s that we met in Dadaab. They'd been offered journalism training and other skills training by DRC and the NRC, and they just went back to their camps. They did not have any networks on how to do journalism, and you could see how heartbroken they were. I tried to ask them if they could use social media as a platform, but I came to realize that either they're illiterate educationally or they don't have the skills. So I wanted to ask the lady if this is something she could sleep about, if she could be willing to correspond or make contact with these girls and see whether, or even the whole management of Somali women in higher education, if it's something they could consider and contact DRC and NRC in Dadaab. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Madam. I think we can start from here and Leyla can just quickly answer that and then go to her questions and who they're opposed to.
Yeah, you can connect us. So maybe, yeah.
Maybe after
that can be
the
done, yeah.
session, you
Yeah.
guys could have a little tete-a-tete. Yeah, okay. Thank you. You had two questions that were posed to Amal and? So it was posed to Amal. Oh. Okay, Amal.
I think I forgot the question, but now I understand. First, let me begin with, you didn't put that as a question, but let me just answer the CRE part. When I was joining high school, it's either, when we are choosing now the subjects, it's either you take physics or CRE. But now when I moved to Form 2 third term, and we were about to select the subjects, they made CRE compulsory. So they gave a business agriculture optional. So it was compulsory that I take CRE. The question on hijab, not necessarily, I never went to school without hijab. The hijab that we were arguing about was actually, my school was a bit lenient. We used to wear not even qamar, but we used to wear hijab. But the challenges we were having with the school administration is the size of the hijab, because some girls, the skirt and the hijab used to be longer. So that is the issue we used to have. And now they took it too far. They said we should like tie the scarf on our head so that they can see the tie, and we should remove our trousers. So at the end of the day, none of that happened, but the idea of using the normal scarf, the small scarf, was implemented, and alhamdulillah, I had registered by then. I remained with my hijab. I decided to be a bit stubborn because there's nothing they could do about my situation. Yeah, I think I'm done.
Okay, thank you so much, Amal. And the rest of the panel, one last round of applause. Come on, guys. A lot bigger than that. A lot bigger than that. You could. No, I don't accept. I don't accept that. I don't accept that. We're gonna have to clap again. No. It's like it was here and I was here. I needed to be here. One last time. There we go. Amazing, guys. Amazing. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to jump right into our afternoon session. We will do the second panel on female students in Somalia, experiences, challenges, and opportunities. Our group of panelists is Zakaria Hassan, who's a researcher from Baidoa, Fatuma Aden, director of SODO in Kismayo, and Ikram Abdiaziz, who is a member of the Somali Gender Hub. I believe that Zakaria, Fatma, and Ikram are all online participants. So I guess moving forward, we'll just kickstart this particular panel with the same vigor and the same group of engagements, or other set of rules and set of engagements that we did with the first panel, which basically goes as such. Zakaria, Fatma, and Ikram are going to introduce themselves, let us know what they do, and so on and so forth. And then right after that, sorry? Oh, they'll speak in Somali. They'll speak in Somali? Oh, okay. So they'll speak in Somali. Will there be a translation or we'll figure that out as we go. And then right after that, we'll get into the discussions where they'll let us know, the experiences, challenges, and opportunities of the female students in Somalia, which is the topic at hand. And then right after that, we'll go into discussions. So each speaker has 5 minutes, or rather each panelist member has 5 minutes, and then we can go into Q&A and discussion. Zakaria, you have the floor.
waa mahadsantihiin dhammaantiina sidoo kale waxaan Somali Gender Hub.
We can't quite hear you.
Okay, let me use earphone.
Yeah, much better.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Thank you, and I will speak Somali. Waxaan u mahadcelinayaa Somali Gender Hub iyo markaasi Mawazo Institute oo barnaamijkan conference soo agaasimay. Sidoo kale waxaan aad ugu mahadcelinayaa Sahra Ahmed Koshin oo markaasi soo casuuntay. Aad ay u mahadsan tahay. Sidoo kale panelistiga waa salaamaya. Runtii waa conference aad muhiim u ah oo markaasi gabdhaha iyo xirfadahooda lagu horumarin karo. Subaxdii ilaa hata waa joogaa, waa ku jiray kulanka. Aad ay u mahadsan yihiin dhammaan dadkii hadlay. Runtii waxay ka hadleen wax oo la taaban karo oo miro dhal ah. Sidoo kale waxaan taaban doonaa qodobo dhowr ah. Marka waxaan jeclaan lahaa inaan idinla wadaago PowerPoint si oo dadka markaasi af Soomaaliga aanan fahmaynin ay u fahmaan. Waxaan u maleynayaa in la arko. Hello. Ma la arkaa shaashadeeda?
Yep. Huh.
Okay, waa mahadsantihiin. Magacay waa Zakariya Xasan, waxaan ahay founderka markaasi Fundal Institute oo ku shaqeeya horumarinta skill developmentiga iyo waxyaabo kale oo aad u badan markaasi ka shaqeeya. Waxaan targetka saari doonaa ama ka hadli doonaa waxyaabaha loo yaqaano challengeska markaasi soo wajaha gabdhaha oo markaasi Soomaaliya jooga, gaar ahaan Koonfur Galbeed Baydhabo. Topicska ka hadli doona waa inta county overview yara ka hadli doona, kadib challengeska soo ka jira, kadibna recommendation baa bixin doona insha Allah. Sida ogtihiinba wadankeena Soomaaliya aad iyo aad waxaa jira dhibaatooyin aad u fara badan dhanka gabdhaha, waxbarashada iyo researchka marka la dhaho. Aad ay ugu yar yihiin gabdhaha Soomaaliyeed, inkastoo aad leedahay maalmihii ugu dambeeyay way sii fiicnaanaysaa oo kor u sii kacaysaa. Hay-adan la dhaho institute-kan la dhaho UNESCO mar uu sameeyey statistics oo literacy rate-ka oo women-ska lagu cabirayo la sameeyey sanadkii 2018 ahayd. Hadda laakiin waxa la sameeyay ilaa hadda maan arag. Waxay ahayd rate-ka gabdhaha waxay ahayd markaas 5.8% ayaa wax akhrin karay. Haddii loo barbar dhigo micnihii ragga waxay ahaayeen 49.7 ay ahaayeen markaasi. Xilligaas waxaa dareemaysaa in uu jiray gaab aad u fara badan, laakiin hadda waxaan rajeynayaa inay sii korortay midaasi gabdhaha Soomaaliya jooga in markaasi tiradooda amaba xaddigaasi ay kor ugu kaceen. Runtii waxaa jiro challenges aad u fara badan marka la joogo Soomaaliya oo kale, laakiin gabdhaha dibadda jooga, Soomaaliya dibaddeeda jooga, waxay heli karaan fursado aad u fara badan bay heli karaan markii loo barbar dhigo kuwa Soomaaliya jooga. Kuwa Soomaaliya jooga runtii inta badan qaarkood waxay helaan fursado, qaarkoodna fursadaha ma helaan. Challengeska ugu badan oo gabdhaha Soomaaliya jooga heesto waxaa ka mid ah poverty-ga ka mid ah, sidoo kale insecurity-ga ka mid ah. Insecurity-gaas oo aad u xun yahay ka mid ah, culture norms-ka ka mid ah oo aad u saameeyo gabdhaha. Sidoo kale waxaa ka mid ah GBV-ga ama gender based violence waxa loo yaqaano ka mid ah oo gabdhaha inta badan ku dhacan. sidoo kale waxaa ka mid ah early marriage-ka ka mid ah gabdhaha runtii gabar wax baranaysa haddii early marriage hal mar ay gasho ama la guursado waxaa dareemaysaa gabadhaasi in markaasi ay khatar ugu jirto in waxbarashadeedii ay joojiso haddii ay researcher ahayd ay iska joojiso researchkii iyo wixii ay waday markaas inay joojiso maadaama ay markaasi sugayso howl guri iyo waxyaabo aad u fara badan ay sugayaan waxaa laga yaabaa inay iska joojiso waxaasi oo dhan tusaale waxaa kaloo jira economic issuesa jira oo familiga dhankooda ugu imaada micne familka laga yaabaa inay yihiin families ka buwa oo lacagtii oo aana bixin karin iskuulka jaamacadda intaas aana bixin karin gabadhan waxay ku qasban tahay in waxbarashadii ay meesha isaga harto oo ay ka tagto waxbarashadeedii ha ahaato dugsigii sare ha ahaado ha ahaado jaamacaddii waxay ku jirtaa inay iska joojiso marka waxbarashada Soomaaliya sida ogtiin inta badan ma lahan wax oo ii sheeg ma lahan oo wax fee oo free ah oo qofka iska dhiganayo ma lahan sidoo kale lack of waxaa jiro scholarships jiro Soomaaliya inta badan wadanka dhexdiisa scholarship badan ma arkaysid laakiin maalmihii ugu dambeeyay hay'adaha qaar waxay diiradda saarayaan in ay bixiyaan scholarships ay siiyaan ay taageeraan si gabdhaha weliba gaaraan gabdhaha skills-ka barta inay iska taageeraan sidoo kale meetingka conference-ka oo kale waxaa diiradda lagu saarayaa hadda gabdhaha oo waxyaabaha aadka u adag ay bartaan sida engineering-ka oo kale waxyaabo kale aad u fara badan runtii Soomaaliya waxaa dareemaysaa in gabdho yar ay bartaan waxyaabaha la dhaho engineering-ka caadiga iyo engineering-ka korontada engineering kale inay bartaan gabdho yar oo tiradooda reedkeeda aad u yar ay bartaan haddii aan dhahno Baydhabo oo kale aad joogo ma lahan gabar oo baranayso ama ma arkaysid gabar baranayso waxyaabahaas oo engineering ama howlahaas adag baranaysa ma arkaysid maalmo dhoweed adi jaamacadda ugu dambeysay magaalada Baydhabo laga aasaasay hadda waxay soo kordhisay waxyaabaha engineering-ka loo yaqaano sidoo kale gabdhaha gobolada jooga oo kale challenges-ka inta badan haysta waxaa ka mid ah in waalidkooda aanay dhehaynin macnihii sidoo kale hadday gabadhaada Muqdisho wax kusoo barnaa Muqdisho aada waxaa laga yaabaa in gabdho yar loo ogolaado inay xaafadooda ay ka tagaan magaalo kala tagaan oo wax kusoo bartaan loo ogolaado gabdho yar sidoo kale politicska ka mid ah waxyaabaha taagan markaasi sidoo kale waxaa jira book quality iska jiro oo waxbarashada wadanka oo gabdhaha markaasi marka loo fiiriyo book quality aad u fara badanaa jiro gabdhaha haysto ama dhammaan dadka dhan dhahno magaalada Baydhabo oo kale markaa fiirno waxaa jiro hal iskuul oo loogu talgalay gabdhaha iskuul oo markaasi primary iyo secondary oo special ah gabdhaha ay dhigtaan gabdho keliya dhigta gabdhaha maamulo iskuulkaas waxaa loo yaqaanaa Cabdalla Deerow ayaa loo yaqaanaa marka magaalada Baydhabo ku yaala gabdho keliya wax bara oo markaasi gabdhaha keligooda wax ka bartaan sidoo kale waxaa jiro institution oo lagu baro gabdhaha midwife-ka iyo waxyaabo kale lagu baro oo college camal macnaheedu oo gabdhaha ay seexdaan meesha gabdhaha qaatan gabdhaha oo secondary-ga ka baxayo ay jaamacadda aadi rabaan marka sidoo kale opportunities jira Soomaaliya marka la joogo oo kale gabdhaha opportunities bay haystaan opportunities-ka ay haystaan aad ay u fara badan yihiin marka loo fiiriyo opportunities-ka dadka dibadda jooga ay haystaan gabdhaha Soomaaliyeed oo kale dhibaatooyinka crisis-ka jira marka loo fiiriyo waxay heli karaan scholarships ay heli karaan laakiin scholarships-kii cid u kacayso ilaa hadda oo ay dhahayso gabdhahan hala siiyo intaasaan hala sameeyo ay dhahayso ilaa hadda aynan jirin dowladdana markaasi diiradda aad u saareen laga yaabaa in maalmihii ugu dambeeyay ay diiradda saarayso waxbarashada ama scholarshipska dibadda ah marka ani waxaan ka shaqeeyaa humanitarian worker ahay inta badan humanitarian-ka ka shaqeeyaa magaalada Baydhabo ka ruralkeeda waa tagaa IDPs-ka waa tagaa markaan wareysto dadka meesha jooga waxay ku sheegeen inay waxbarasho rabaan laakiin haddana aan markaasi waxbarashadii iyo waxyaabihii qarashkii aana bixin karin dadkii oo markaasi aad ay ugu dhiban yihiin inay qarashkaas bixiyaan marka waxaa kaloo jira recommendations aan bixin doono oo kuwaan hadda aad u jeedaan ah recommendationska aan bixinayo waxaa ka mid ah in kor loo qaado high education iyo research academicska gabdhaha ka qayb galaa in kor loo qaado sida jaamacadaha oo kale in gabdhaha ay joogaan la encourage gareeyo kor loo qaado waxbarashadooda in gabdhaha various degrees ay sameeyaan loo ogolaado iyo courses badan ay sameeyaan sida Sahra Ahmed Koshin ay inta badan diiradda saarayso oo kale waxyaabahaas in ay samayso waxyaabo badan markaas ay kor u qaado sidoo kale waxaa soo jeedinayaa in gabdhaha inta badan diiradda loo saaro scholarships ay wax ku baran karaan la siiyo ha ahaato university ha ahaato high education keeda ahaato haddii gabadha ay isku dayso maanta inay research samayso ilaan markay samayso experience bay ku hele in la taageero macnaha researchkeedii siday ku samaysan lahayd ama wax ay kaga soo saari lahayd meesha recommendationkaas soo jeedinaya kulay 5 daqiiqa la isiiyey waxaan u maleynaa inaan wax ku darsaday waa idinka raali gelinaya apologize baan bixinaya sidoo kale in kor loo qaado gabdhaha macallimiinta laga dhigaa tusaalaan gabadhan hadday ka baxdo dugsi sare ama university ay dhamayso in qayb laga dhigo inay wax barto dadka kale iskuulada kale ay tagto lagu encourage gareeyo inay wax barto sidoo kale gabdhaha inay noqdaan school staffska oo kale macallimiinta dadka oo dhanka xisaabta iyo waxyaabahaas financial management ka shaqeeya oo jaamacadaha iyo iskuulada marka loo fiiriyo marka aad u mahadsantihiin dhammaantiina intaas yar waxaan ugu talagalay presentationkaas in qof walba oo anaga inaga mid ahay in uu markaasi fahmo qofkan af Soomaaliga fahmaynina uu markaasi fahmo qaabka markaasi aan u sameynayno aad baan ugu mahadcelinayaa dhammaan ka qaybgalayaasha barnaamijkan oo markaasi ay soo qaban qaabisay Somali Gender Hub iyo sidoo kale aad u mahadsantihiin dhammaantiin
Sakariya aad u mahadsan tahay presentation ku mahadsan tahay waxaan u maleynayaa waqti badan ma haysano sidaas darteed waxaan u yeerayaa Faadumo aadan agaasimaha ururka haweenka Soomaaliyeed ee Kismaayo oo la dhaho Sawda Faadumo mi maqashaa for our non-Somali speaking folk I just thanked Zakaria for his presentation. So what we had agreed with the Somali speaking guests is to have the presentations in English so that the rest of the audience can follow, at least the PowerPoint presentations, and that they can, speak in Somali. As I indicated earlier this morning, I had said that the conference was bilingual. And so if need be, we will translate. So is Fadumo there? Can we unmute Fatima or Zakaria? Adiga ma is unmute gareeye markaad bilaabaysa mise I don't know Charles take
mute aniga iska qaaday markaas
okay Fatima soo dhawo bay Fatima ma maqlaysaa
su'aashii hadaladii hore iyaga dhaafay marka iga soo celin kartaa hadalkii hore iyara dhaafay
Faadumo aadan aan rabaa
okay Faadumo aadan ma Faadumo Samaano
may Faadumo aadan hadda rabnaa agaasimaha Sawda NGO in Kismaayo. Charles, if you could kindly unmute Faadumo Adan, Sawda NGO. I saw her earlier. She was online, at least, well, she was there. Connecting. Let me get her on WhatsApp. Because, not to lose time, maybe as we struggle with Faadumo and getting her back online.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mutka ay fuqi waaye.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. So do Agasime.
And dhammaantiin waxaan leeyahay all participating waxaan leeyahay waan salaamayaa I greet you all. Waan ku mahadsantihiin Sahra maanta presentationkii noo qabateen oo meeshaan ka socday. Waqtiga oo yar anoo ka faa'iideysanaya haddaan fiirino annaga as Jubbaland ahaan area-da aan ku noolnahay weliba Kismaayo markaan ka hadalno dhinaca gabdhaha waxbarashada caqabado badan ka haysto kow marka ugu horeysaba horta dadkii waxa waay poverty people waa dadkii waxba dhaqaalihi aad u hooseeya inta badan waxa masuuliyadda qaaday hooyooyinka waxa marka masuuliyadda hooyada guriga ay ku lahayd gabadha ay sii saartaa waxaa adkaata marka wiilashii iyo gabdhihii in isla aadi waayaan iskuulka oo inta badan wiilasha loo diro qaar ka mid ahna in loo diro gabdhihii wiilasha dad yar ee u diraan waa adi heli kara awood u leh waxaa kaloo jirto markii ay gaaraan adolescence timeka markay gaaraan laftirkeeda gabdhaha waxay ku iskuullada friends lama aha friendly gaal ma aha oo iskuulladii ma laha meelihii gabadhii xanuunkii waqtigaas markay ku jirto period timeka xanuunkii iyo waxyaalihii meeshii musqulii gooni u ah iyo waxyaalahaas dhan ma laha iskuulladii waxaa dhacday inta badan inay meeshaas ay diro ood ku sameeyaan waxaa kaloo jirto dhinaca kaleeta markii heerka jaamacadeed la fiiriyo dhaqaalihii xaggiisii in badan ma aadaan intii aadana markaas laftirkooda hal meel waxay saaraan diiradda oo sida gabdhaha inta badan healthiga ay diiradda saaraan oo waxay ka fiiriyaan opportunityga ay ka helayaan shaqo ay ku heli karaan markay saas ay tahay dhinacii siyaasadda iyo ma saaraan oo sida social political science-kii iyo engineering-kii iyo xooga ma saara tan kaleeto waxaa jirto annaga hadda gobolkeenan low juba magaalada Kismaayo markaan ka hadalno ma lahan jaamacadaha waxay ku egyihiin batch heerka koowaad bas heerka labaad ma laha haddii gabdhihi xitaa isu qaadi lahaayeen ma laha inta badanna waalidiinta markii ay waxay saaraan inay wiilka ay hormariyaan oo ay dhahaan gabdhaha siduu ka hadlaya magaciisa oo kale waa wax Soomaaliya oo dhan common ka ah waxaa kaloo jirto caqabadaha ugu badan horta intaas iyo in kale oo aan soo koobi karin waaye marka waxaan dhihi karnaa fursado maxay u heli karaan hadda fursado waxaa xoogaa nagu jirto fursado waxay leeyihiin college oo midwifer ah oo secondary qof ka baxay free ah ku taalo magaalada Kismaayo oo Jubbaland dhan qofka ka imaado uu ka qayb galaan oo jiif leh oo ilaa dowladda federaalka ay ka support gareeyaan waxaa kaloo jiro college karo macallimiinta laftirkooda lagu soo saaro gabdho macallimiin way jiraan inkastoo ay limitskooda ay yaryihiin oo gabdhaha markay xitaa shaqada markay tagaan ay culeysyo badan haystaan gabadhi markay hooyo noqoto kaleeto wiilkii shaqaalaha inaaba loo qaadano marka horetaba in la dhaho gabar ilmo haystaa mashquulkeeda badan ama waxay aadaysaa maternity leave waxyaalahaas caqabado badan jiro marka fursad waxay u heli karaan hadda oo ay leeyihiin meeshaan hadda waxaa timid jaamacadda muqdisho kale laftirkeeda oo master degreegas ay sameeyaan laakiin waa hadda way cusub yihiin weli ma aysan siba inkastoo qaalina ay tahay oo ay gabdhihii aysan ka bixi karin marka aniga hadda waxaan ku talin lahaa maadaama fursadana jiraan caqabadana jiraan waddankan uu ahaa waddan annaga hadda gabdhihi daay hadlayo kaleeto Kenya waxyaalaha dowlad meel ka dhisanta annaga waqti dheer long time waxaan ahayn dad burbur uu ku soo jiray oo dhinac walba u burburay markii laga hadlo Soomaaliya hadda un bay soo kabanaysaa soo kabasha lagu jira marka in xoog la saaro si coalition loo sameyn lahaa isku xira gabdhaha si dhinaca hadda sida awoodid Sahro sida wanaagsan awoodina camal inay gabdhihii siday waxbarashada ugu sii dhiiran lahaayeen loo garab siin lahaa oo bare ay u helaan civic education loo sameeyo oo jaamacadii oo kale lagu dhiirigeliyo qaymaha laftirkooda cidi ka caawin karta loo helo maadaama dowladda Soomaaliya maanta meel free ma jirto Soomaaliya ilaa galaaska koowaad ilaa galaaska u dambeeyo waa lacag waay marka waxyaalahaas oo dhan waxaan ku bixin lahayn in Sahra adinkii intii kale ee khusaysadda laga caawiyo waqtigoo gaaban iyo hawsho dheer waxaa intaasaan kusoo gabagabeyn lahaa wabillahi tawfiiq waa mahadsantiin dhammaantiin
aad u mahadsantahay abaayo waxaan hadda isku taxaluujinayaa inaan u turjumo martideena Soomaaliga fahmaynin anoo soo koobaya hadalkaagii. So basically, I'm going to try and translate in a nutshell what Fatima just mentioned. What are the major obstacles women are facing in Jubaland? So Fatima is the director of Somali Women Development Organization in Kismayo, and she shared that like many other Somalis in Somalia, Somalis in Jubaland, some of the challenges that families are facing have to do a lot with poverty, So when you have poverty in the household and you have to, decide who goes to school, it's often the male child who is selected to go to school, and the girl, has to stay home. And this ultimately will have implications for her later on in life. Because it's very hard if you haven't had a good basic education in lower primary, primary, it's very hard to later on be, to come back to school. She also mentioned that the schools in Jubaland are not girl-friendly. There aren't any girl-friendly spaces, especially during women, issues around menstrual hygiene. So when girls are menstruating, like many parts in Somalia or Somali regions, let me say, that girls tend to stay at home because they can't access, clean water, sanitation, at school. And I have myself witnessed this. I have worked in the education sector for 5 years as a gender advisor at the Ministry of Education and Higher Education in Puntland. And these are some of the factors that are sometimes unseen and unnoticed, that, if you miss school for 6 days a month, how much does that total to in a year? Girls are afraid of, leakage, and, having stained their uniforms, and so many issues around that. And that is really an issue that is often not given the attention that it deserves, how that one factor can impact girls, not only going to school, but also her performance in class and retention. Ultimately, lack of employment, she mentioned, the fact that girls often tend to choose for one specific course like nursing, or they are often in one area of and not in. Fatima, you can unmute. Fatima is unmute, Gray. So she gave a number of recommendations, finally, and she called for the importance of women forming coalitions, alliances, and networks, and that when women come together, they can pool their resources, pool their efforts, and make a bigger impact. And this is really something that's that I also wanted to emphasize on later on in my presentation, that there is very little collaboration between Somali women. Even in Somalia, where I have lived for many years, that there is no national kind of, a connection and working together and collaborating for the common cause. So they have all these fragmented organizations that are all over the place, and but very little impact. So thank you very much, Fadumo. I would now like to call upon Ikram Abdulaziz, who is working with us at the Somali Gender Hub in the area of mentorship. And she will speak about not only the work that we do at the Somali Gender Hub, in regards to mentorship, but also she will speak about what are some of the challenges that women are facing in Mogadishu, where she's based and where she is at currently. Ikram, are you there? Can you unmute yourself, Ikram Abdulaziz? You have 5 minutes. Let me see what's happening. So Ikram is saying she can't unmute herself. Okay. Let me call Charles. Can you unmute yourself now, Ikram? Try now. Sorry? Ikram. Try now, Ikram.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Oh.
And adinkana way maqshiina umaleynaa hadeertaan miidka waa ka baxay waa salaamaya dhammaan marti sharafta halkan fadhiso sidoo kale waxaa si gaar u salaamaya Sahra Koshin oo ah directorka iyo founderka Somali Gender Hub sidoo kale waxaa aad ugu faraxsanahay maanta si gooni ah u qiimeynaya inaa shirkan oo shirka saddexaad aan qabanayno uu yahay inuu si gooni ah u interest gareynayo gaar ahaan weliba mawduuca aan rabo inaan hadda ka hadlo shirkeena saddexaad Somali Gender Hub oo ku dhacay physical iyo online labadaba waxaa rabaa inaa uga faa'iideysto marka horeeto inaa introduce ku sameeyo nafsadeeda ikraac cabdicasiis saliidhaha waxaa kasoo hadlaya magaalada muqdisho waxaa ka tirsanaa sidee horaba u sheegtay Sahra Koshin Somali Gender Hub sidoo kale haddana waxaa ka tirsanahay head of ka ah Bio Innovation Hub Nairobi University Innovation Hub oo department cusub oo mar dhow jaamacadda lagu aasaasay afarta sano ugu dambeysa waxaa ka shaqeynayay arrimaha dhalinyarada iyo haweenka gaar ahaan women in politics sidoo kale intaa magaalada muqdisho ku sugnaa sidoo kale waxaa ka shaqeynayay WPS oo Women Peace and Security Soomaaliya hadda waxaa jooga meesha ka shaqeynaya oo mawduuca leed ee la tahay waxaa waaye marka laga soo tago sanadihii dambe la shaqeynaya private sector iyo public sectorka education sector oo aad saameyn ugu leh mawduuca lagu dooray programkeena oo ah female students Somali journalists iyo opportunities kaasto waxaa ka hadli doonaa laba qodob oo u kala saari doona iskuulada Soomaaliya ku yaala gaar ahaan Muqdisho iyo jaamacadaha studentska maxaa jaalan gabdhaha gaar ahaan weliba maxaa challenges haysto sidoo kaleeto maxay fursado haystaan in my experience waxaa rabaa inaan ila wadaago waana ku xumaa inaad oo sidaas waxaa jirto challenges aad u badan gabdhaha ardayda ah ee wax barto oo Soomaaliya joogo waxaa ka tilmaami karo ee kuwa ay ka tahay inaysan haysan role models sida hadda maanta anaga fursada u helno si gooni ah inaan u sheegaa rabo inay mentor Sahra Koshin inaysan gabdhaha tirada intaas la eg waxaa la dhahaa waxaa qalin jabiso sanadkii jaamacadaha waxaa soo gasho 22,000 oo arday iskuulka markay kasoo baxaan oo imtixaanka dowladda hadda 3 sano u dambeysay ee wasaaradda waxbarashada imtixaanka ay maamulaysa percentage ugu badan oo soo qalin jabiyo waxaa la dhahaa dumara u badan waxaa exactly arkaa xafiisyada hadda aan joogo meesha ka shaqeynaya jaamacadda class walbo gaar ahaan kalaasyada caafimaadka kalaasyada weliba kalaasyada oo dhan hadda facultyada si isku mid ah usoo badanayaan gabdhaha ku badan numberka soo diiwaan geliyo waxaana aad u yar numberka macallimiinta iyo role modelska ee la kulmaan maskaxdooda inay helaan mentorship sidoo kaleeta inay helaan dad ay la jaan qaadaan oo psychological ahaan ay la hadlaan markay joogaan goobaha waxbarashada waxaa rabaa inaan si toos u abaaro maxaa la dhahay mawduuca ah female studentska Soomaaliya waxay la kulmaan female-ka waxay u baahan tahay markii la dhaho goob waxbarasho ay joogto waxaa xafiiska imaanayaan xafiiska shaqada ay kala dhexeyso waxaa jira Soomaaliya harassment badan oo sector walba ka jira private sectorka iyo public sectorka waxbarashada dadka maamula ee gacanta ku haya dhaqaalaheedii wax walba gacanta ku haya waxaa rag Soomaaliyeed way soo dadaaleen alxamdulillah laakiinse maadaama gaabkii ay ka maqan yihiin dumarka nafsoorada iyo dumarka cilmi-baarayaasha ee aad u yar inta yar joogto gabdhaha waxay la kulmaan caqabado aad u badan oo kala xiriirto markay buugga qorayaan gabdho badan oo dadaalo isku soo saara way jiraan waxay caqabado kala kulmaan markii ay rabaan inay public ay ka hadlaan public ahaan inay u hadlaan waxyaabo badan oo waxaa jirto oo ay ka mid tahay inaysan haysanin markii foundation yearka lagu jiro hadda wasaaradda waxbarashada ugu mahadcelinayna sanadkan foundation year ee kusoo dartay ay kala fahmi karaan qofkan xuquuqda macalinkiisu leeyahay ama waxa laga rabo ama marmarka qaar waxaa aragnaa inaysan xiriir dhow ka dhexeynin gabdhaha waxbarashada soo aada iyo waalidkooda foundation yearka markaa kusoo laabto waxaa ka maqan waxbarashada Soomaaliya gaar ahaan Muqdisho maadooyinka sociology iyo psychology-ga oo qofka dhalinyarada wiil iyo gabar labadaba support gareynaya inuu wax badan u fahmo challengesyada keliya marabi in la abaaro taas waxaa female studentska waxaa sii jira markay kasoo tagaan waxbarashada ay soo dhameynayaan inay la kulmaan internshipska. Waxaa rabaa inaad dul istaago markii ay jirto gabdhaha caafimaadka bartoo kale gaar ahaan kiisas aan la kulannay waxay aadaan internships isbitaallo kala duwan. Isbitaalladaas it is very sad inaa dhaho waxaa boqolkiiba 90 waxaa maamulaan rag. Waxaa laga yaabaa ayadoo isdhahaysa kiiskan si experience ugu heshid inay la kulanto waxaa la dhaho gender based violence ama harassment iyo ay ka mid tahay internshipkeeda inaysan isku filan u heli karin. Gabdhaha teknolojiyadu way ku yar yihiin, gabdho yaraa ka shaqeeyo ama gabdho yaraa barto. Kadib xafiisyada internship kambaniyaasha Soomaaliya aad u yartahay inay internship siiyaan dumarka Soomaaliyeed ee waxbarashada ku jirto in la aqbalo oo loo arko inay waxaan qaban karto oo loo aamini karto. Taas laftirkeeda caqabad kale waayo oo gabdhaha haysata ay ka mid tahay. Markay suuqa shaqada soo aadaan sida hore looga dhawaajiyey ayagoo aad ugu yar inay economicska bartaan iyo fursadaha meelaha ay ka jiraan aad u yartahay haddana inay rajo kale inay arki karaan ay dhihi karaan waxaa rabnaa inaan halkaas ka shaqeyno. sanad markay qalinjabiyaan waxaa laga yaabaa kadib inay sanad ama 2 sano ay ka qaadato inay ishelaan nafsadooda. Taasna waxaa dhihi karaa gaab wuxuu ku jiraa goobaha waxbarashada markii hore sida loo diyaarinayo. Inkastoo Soomaaliya hadda waxay ay soo hagaagayso waxaa sidoo kale jirta shirarka noocan oo ay gabdhaha wax badan ka faa'iidi lahayn ama researchera ama article la soo qori lahaa aad u yar. Somali Gender Hub sanad walba in isku hooshay aad ugu mahadcelinaa. Opportunitieska marka loo imaado opportunitieska waxaa dhihi karnaa waxaa ka mid ah maanta inaan haysano shirki inaan ka hadlayno dumar kooban oo u istaagay inay caqabadaha jiraan inta la arko haddana la xaliyo. Sidoo kale waxaa ka mid ah internetka marka laga soo tago qaybaha qalabka oo isticmaalayaan internetka waxaa ku jirto opportunity ay u arkaan inay uga faa'iideystaan noloshooda wax badan iska bedesho dad mentors ka dhex arkaan. waxay qaybahaas oo kusoo koobi lahaa wixii su'aal soo dhaweynaya. Sidoo kale aad u mahadsantihiin dhegeysigiina.
إكرام ومحسن تهي وصعبية بانل كان زكريا حسن فاطمة آدن iyo إكرام عبد العزيز آدم mahadsanyihiin. I'm going to try and translate what Ikram just shared. So Ikram has been working with us for a good number of years now as a mentorship a coordinator, but she's also involved with many other things with youth, advocacy, peace building. She's also into nutrition. So basically, she shared that in where she's at, the women are complaining about lack of mentorship. That it is specifically, particularly important for the Somali women to have somebody to look up to be inspired by, to call a role model. And I think this is something that all our speakers spoke about, whether it is the keynote speakers, whether it is the other panels, that there's a need for a well-coordinated mentorship program to offer to Somali women to see them through, complete their higher education up to, publication of the articles, even support with thesis writing. That it's very difficult for Somali women when it comes to in the graduate year to write a thesis. They find it very difficult, whether it is the language, whether it is the actual academic skill of writing. And that difficulty, forces women to drop out, to not go back to academia. The lack of internship positions that women, if they do get internship positions, that they face harassment by male colleagues. The institutions being very, very patriarchal, male-dominated, male-led. Very few spaces for women to, women's spaces where they can. For example, sometimes even have access to toilets, separate toilets or separate prayer spaces. And we have seen this phenomena throughout not only schools and higher education institutions, but even in the workforce, in the private sector. So they said she said all of these problems contribute to the absence of women in academia and in knowledge production. And there needs to be a well-coordinated program, she says, that, that offers women this. And the Somali Gender Hub as a mentorship coordinator that we have over the years supported women by giving them skills on our inbuilt training application, where we offer women basic skills like how do you do research, how do you analyze your data to prepare them to successfully complete their higher education cycle. So there's a demand for that, actually, a lot of demand, and I think Geoffrey and Eric and all the other speakers will speak about that. Okay, because of time pressure, we are going to skip some of today's sessions. For example, I'm going to skip my session on the opportunities for Somali women. I think we have spoken about that endlessly. We know what the challenges are. We have a very good understanding of what the problems are, the challenges are. And so I'm not going to speak about that later on. But now I would like to be, and I really want to thank our online guests for being very patient with us. I'm going to try now to call on Dr. Naraida Ribeiro, who has been patiently waiting for her session, which was to take place at 12:15, this afternoon. But I'm going to give a few minutes to Naraida to speak about her research in Kenya on Somali women in Kenya and Somali women in Johannesburg. She will tell us something about that project, but she also had, very importantly, her book. This year in June, I had the privilege to be a discussant or a reviewer of Naraida's book, which is her thesis, her monograph, her PhD monograph, in Cologne, in Germany. There was the ECAS conference there, the sort of, I think it's annual or biannual African conference that takes place in Germany every year, a very big conference, where she presented or launched her book. So she will tell you all about the book. Naraida, are you there? Finally, it's your turn. Welcome.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Naraida. Can we see Naraida?
I'm turning on my camera. Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you as well.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for having me. Sarah, I want to thank Sarah a lot for this initiative. I think it's a great one, and I'm very happy of everything I've been listening this morning. And I won't take too long because I know we're running short on time and it's after lunch and probably everyone is a bit tired. And I have a PowerPoint presentation, but a short one, just with some guides of what I'm gonna talk about the book. It will be brief. Let me just try to share this one. Can you see the?
Can you see?
Hello? Can you see the presentation?
We can see.
Okay, great. Thank you. So again, I would like to start thanking Sahara for giving me this space. It's the first time I'm presenting about Somali women to Somali women, so I don't want to sound very redundant because you already know what it means to be a Somali woman. So I'm just going to talk a bit how I got into this topic and how this book came to be. As you can hear by my accent, English is not my first language. I'm originally from Spain. And I arrived in Kenya, in Nairobi in 2007, and I lived there until 2010. I was a lecturer of Spanish at USIU, And then I had the privilege to meet Professor Fatuma Ahmed Ali, who spoke this morning, and she's the one to blame for my interest in Somalis, because she had just came back from Spain, and we became very close friends. He said she was an inspiration for Somali women, but I will say she's an inspiration for other women as well. So Fatuma, you know, she really welcomed me as I was part of her family, and she took me to Isili, she took me to Isiolo, and I was fascinated by all the people I was meeting and everything that I was seeing. I was very young at that time. I was like 26, and I was coming with my Western mind, you know, and for me it was a great positive surprise getting to know Somali culture and Somali lifestyle. So I then decide, okay, I want to know more about this, and I want to do my PhD on Somali women, anthropology, ethnography, and that's what I did when I came to South Africa, where I'm now based at Wits in Johannesburg at the University of Witwatersrand. I come from a background of language and literature, so I was really moving out of my comfort zone, but I think it was really worth it. So for me, the main thing, I mean, you know how Somalis or Somalia is normally portrayed in the global imagination. And for me, that image was very wrong based on my experiences I was having there in Nairobi. And I thought it was very important to change perceptions about Somalis and especially about Somali women. So that's why my PhD was based on that, on Somali women in Nairobi and Johannesburg. And then that became the book. Here is the cover. It's published by Bergham Books. Unfortunately, just in hard copy, so it's quite expensive, but there is also an online version just for $20 that you can download from the website. I'll put the website at the end. So for me, this has been a whole project of 12 years in total since I started the PhD until the book was published this year. And as Sarah mentioned, we launched it in Cologne at the African Studies Conference, and people really like what they hear. So I'm very glad to contribute to show another image of Somali and especially Somali women. So, I mean, you already know that. So that's how Somalia is perceived in the global imagination. So when people hear about Somalia, they always think about tribalism, armed conflict, religious extremism, Al-Shabaab, the pirates of the Indian Ocean, hunger, refugee camps. And I think there's a complete victimization of refugees and women, yes, especially Somali women. And I mean, I'm not going to deny that part of this reality exists, but it's not the only reality. You know, that's also quoting Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, the Nigerian writer. She talks about the problem of the single history, when there's only an history from one perception. And that's what I was feeling, you know, like there was not justice being made about all the richness of Somali people and Somali culture. And this is normally the image, you know, you associate with Somalia. Meanwhile, you know, since I started my research, I found a very different scenario. Yes, like, so I was very fascinated how the diaspora, the Somali diaspora is a global one that is all around the world. Yes, you can find Somalis in everywhere. I mean, you know, like in Minneapolis, in London, yes, and all these enclaves are connected. So I like to use this concept. It's actually from Cindy Hall's Transnational Nomads, and how I really see Somalia as a culture of migration. Like the importance of migrating and traveling and moving is very present in the Somali culture. And I think in the traditional times, it was the pastoralist way of life, but now it has gone to a transnational one. And I think that's very important for Somali culture and how Somali identity is constructed, because even if Somalis, so you are spread all around the world, you still keep very strong links with one another. And I think that's very peculiar, I will say. Not all communities operate like that. And then, I mean, the concept of buffies that also came a lot in my research, I also found fascinating, this need of keep moving, you know, like if not, you will feel depressed or you will feel down. And so that's why I wanted to focus, you know, like my approach to Somali women from different perspectives. You know, it's not like this poor woman. No, it's a woman who I'll talk more about down the line, you know, but it's a woman who can be empowered. So that's why it was so nice to hear all of you this morning, accessing education and using your own voices to talk about things relevant for you and for everyone else. So, I mean, you also are aware of the role of the diaspora reconstructing the country. That's not my research topic, so I wouldn't talk much about that. But, I mean, I came across all these investments and connections, you know, like keep the Somali economy all around the world. I think it's also very important for the Somali collective identity, the role of new technologies like social media. You know, like how someone in Minneapolis can know what happens here in Mayfair and Johannesburg 5 minutes later. Yes, and how it's also creating like a reconstruction of the nation in social media with different kind of posts. Yes, like it's a narrative going on there that maybe that doesn't exist as much in the no virtual world. So I also found that very, very interesting. And then I was also interested in looking at what the people call little Mogadishus, especially Sili in Nairobi and Mayfair here in Johannesburg. And I'm focusing on urban and what I call cosmopolitan refugees, trying to move on of this refugee in the camp that is unable to provide for them or their families, and all that kind of narrative that I think is just like a victimization from the West of the way looking at the others, especially Africans, and in this case, Somali. So what I observe is like people will work, they will send money home, they will create associations, support each other, and they were very active. And for me, Somalis are the best businessmen or women in the world. So I think that reality cannot be ignored. And the importance of this translocal, what I call translocal identity. So even if everyone comes from Somalia and it's spread all around the world, there is still, you know, like these connections that, I mean, and like being somebody is almost like a trademark. Yes, like it may assimilate things from the new culture, but I feel Somalis, you always carry your culture with you and your religion wherever you go. So again, when it's with regard to women, so it's always these stereotypes. I think Fatuma and some other speakers have been talking about this along the day. But I think there is this tendency to look at Somali women as victims, like Black, Muslim, uneducated, without power or decision making, like very passive subjects that do nothing. And I found the reality is very different. So that's what is great to see these initiatives like the Somali Gender Hub happening and having this annual conference to keep for the record what Somali women are able to do. And I also found, for me, Somali women are the most resilient women on earth, and I really admire that. When I was doing interviews here in Johannesburg, there were very young women. Sometimes I was talking to like 20 in the early 20s. I was like, tell me about your life. And they say, no, I have a normal life. I'm just a mother and this and that. I said, well, you have crossed half of the continent. I mean, like, and you're still here and you're still smiling. Like, I mean, they wouldn't value that as valuable, their stories, but I think they really are. And I think it's very important to give voice to those stories of resilience and starting to see more women as warriors and not as much as victims. And I also found women migrating on their own with the support of the whole family or clan. But I mean, it was them who were going from one country to another. They will become economically independent as well in Nairobi and Johannesburg, so supporting the family back in Somalia. And there was also some empowerment. So they had decision making, or they have decision making. I also found in both places, women are starting to access the Quran by themselves. So they're interpreting the verse on their own without anyone telling them this or that. So that's also having I think, an impact on the way women think and take decisions, and especially the way they navigate the cultural and religious practices in diasporic spaces. So, I mean, those are aspects I explore in the book. I won't go in detail here again because it feels a bit redundant to talk to Somali women about Somali cultural practices. And actually, this book for me, I was also written in a sense for a Western audience to try to show them it's another reality. Yes, don't believe what you see in the news or this or that. You know, like there is a whole different scenario happening. And then another constant that I found, I mean, and this is linked to the concept of buffets that is being mentioned today as well, is this constant desire of a better life, of improving your life and the one of the families and people close to you. And that was a very important engine for migration and this constant sense of improvement. But then it's interesting, I did a small also field work in Minneapolis in the US, and I talked to some of the women I have met here in Mayfair in Johannesburg, and they have reached their dream destination, that is the US, but then they were not happy there. They want to keep moving, you know, they wanted to get their papers and then come back to Africa or go to another destination. So I found this search of a better life like goes on forever, you know, but it's like a way of motivating and also empower women and have their independence and all these things. Here I have a couple of quotes that I got from interviews. I leave there for you to read, but it's like the emphasizing how the Somali community survives because of the women. I mean, I will actually read because it's a nice one. Because women were taking care of all aspects of life and the men were busy with the war. The men in Somalia were controlling because they had the money. But life is changing now. The economy is controlling, not the man. Before, women didn't have anything. After the war, the men don't work. They are confused and they don't know what to do, where to start. But all the women are working. The women know how to take care of their husband and their children. Men have become a hassle. Somali survives because of women. If not, they have long disappeared. So I found this quote from an interview this was a businesswoman in Nairobi, very revealing in the sense like how things are changing in Somali society. And another woman even declared how women have become the survivor kit of the Somali society. Yes, so I think some acknowledgement should be done to that, especially in these times where we are living. And yes, this is just like a very general. I don't know if then you have questions or comments, or you want me to talk about a particular aspect of the book. I just want to add that the photos you have seen here is from this book. This is a free ebook. You can find it online. Let me move this. Here is the address. And this is actually about Mayfair, a journey through Jobo's Little Mogadishu metropolitan nomads. So this was a collaborative project with a photographer to try and document the life of the neighborhood here and show a different image. You know, like in South Africa, there's huge problem they have here with xenophobia. So from time to time, there are these xenophobic attacks, and Somalis, of course, they are target. And this was an attempt to try and portray another image of what is the everyday life in the Somali neighborhood here. So this is a previous book that is available for free online. And this is the book I've been presenting today again. And here you have my email if you want to reach me, my website, and that's the website for the book. So thank you very much, and I'll be glad to hear comments or questions from the audience. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Narida. Very, very interesting research you've conducted. I'm also online here, so
okay.
I'm just doing the meeting online. I was trying to see how it looks when you are both physically there and also online.
Okay.
So, really, we thank you very much, Naraida. Of course, I had the privilege to read your book and to comment on it in Cologne, and I, in the interest of time, because we were actually supposed to end the session right now, just about right now, and I can see people are leaving one by one. So, because of the fact that we don't have time, we're going to go straight on to our last three speakers. Okay, our last three speakers, and I'm going to give them a few minutes. Please, if you have questions for Naraida, she's on Twitter, she's on social media, you can Google her about her book, about her research. If you're interested in the other second panel speakers and reaching out to them, I can share their contacts. But please, for the interest of time, let's continue so that we can finish at least by 4. Or just before 4, there's coffee and cake outside. I would like to now call upon, I don't see Eric here, but I'm going to call upon Geoffrey, who is ready with his presentation on Geoffrey is the research training manager at the Rift Valley Institute, which is just next door here, the same building as the Bear. And he's going to talk about what the RVI and he, as the manager, has been doing with young career researchers, not only Somalis, but others as well, but also Somalis, what kind of opportunities he has come across in his work. Geoffrey, the floor is yours. Please, welcome. Yes, I forward it to Charles. I hope so, yeah.
It's normally difficult to speak when people are tired, full. So when I know Sahra for a long time, since we've been engaged in some projects previously. So when Sahra did ask me to speak about opportunities for women in higher education, research, and academia, I was kind of surprised. The obvious reason you could as well guess. What do you think it was the reason? These ones. Yeah, so my question was, I'm not a woman, right? So, and you expect that spaces that women occupy is always enclosed for only women because of this movement towards feminism and gender and all that fear of what men can do for women, because we've been accused either rightfully or wrongly of denying women opportunities. So I think my role here is not to deny opportunities as a man standing before you, but to kind of guide you through what we as people like us men can also do towards women empowerment. So that is part of what I've been doing at the RVI. So I have short video that I will play before my PowerPoint presentation. Go to the video. How can we play a video? Go to the email address. The email. The email. Yeah. So the video that I'll play. So as Sahra introduced me, my name is Geoffrey Lugano. I'm a Kenyan and I work here at the RVI, which is housed or hosted by the British Institute in East Africa, where we are. And my job is to train, or rather, one of my project goals is to train early career researchers in the region. So that's what I've been doing in the recent past. And if we speak about why do you think Sahra asked me to talk about opportunities for women in higher education in research, academia, and training? Largely because of the nature of where we are as a society. I think, in the African region, most of us are patriarchal and women are subjugated and excluded from mainstream society in terms of being confined to the household. They're supposed to be homemakers while men provide. And in this provision of household household expenditure, it is men who have access to opportunities, for example, in higher education, in other jobs, in training, etc., etc. And that is what we are here to demystify, that women can actually and equally occupy these opportunities. So with regards to training and research opportunities in the region, I reckon that we have multiples of them. And it is up to you as a woman, as an interested participant, as an interested person, to identify and grab these opportunities. And how do you do this so? One is staying informed about developments in these spaces. For example, you should know what is available, where, and how to access them. And a number of strategies can be done in this regard. One, you can make connections with relevant people. And that explains partly why Sarah's brought you here, to connect with relevant stakeholders in these spaces, like me, through mentorship. So all of us, regardless of the level of education where we are in, or jobs, we've had mentors at some particular points in time. I still do have mentors up to this point, despite my training and my job. Another way of knowing where these developments are, where these opportunities are, is to do your research. If you look at the modern age, the internet affords you so much information that you can access on your own, just by use of your mobile phones. And I can see most of you have smartphones. So just a simple search on Google, let's say a random search of scholarship or higher education opportunities, you'll find multiple hits and answers to your questions. So those are the three strategies you can make use of to get to know what exists outside here. So I'll talk about two different things. I'll talk about where you can start in terms of accessing training programs, research programs in the region, but also accessing scholarship opportunities outside the East African region. So the most obvious places you can start are where you are. So you're hosted by the British Institute in East Africa, which is a fairly well-established institution in Kenya and parts of the region. So the BIA has host of programs here. It does have thematic grants. So each year, the BIA team that includes the director and a number of fellows always conceptualize their research in terms of programs. They have grants under which they allocate funding to early career researchers in the region. That includes Kenya, Uganda, Somalia, East Africa, parts of Southern Africa, like Zimbabwe, Zambia, etc. The BIA also has a number of fellowships for early career researchers, and they normally advertise them in their website. So just a simple Google search again can direct to this website. And then thirdly, there's graduate attachment schemes, which gives a platform for recent graduates, mostly undergraduates, to build a platform or a career in research. And it's usually a system or a framework in which young scholars are attached to or paired with more experienced or senior scholars. And I think I'm seeing one of my friends here who is a graduate attaché from the UK. I think you can wave to them. Yeah, so you can have a discussion with her. Then I skipped my institution because I wanted to begin with the host, which is the BIA. So RVI, as we are known, the Rift Valley Institute, is also quite an old dog in this game of training. So we are fairly present in the Horn of Africa. We have offices in Somaliland, that is Hargeisa. We have an office in South Sudan, Ethiopia, not yet in Somalia. I think you know why, but we're trying to come there. We have also programs as well in those different countries, but increasingly we have expanded our programs as well to Somalia. So part of what we do is to do research and trainings in Somalia as well. So you're not excluded, despite that we don't have an office there. And the RBA is a very interesting institution in the sense that we have a number of training programs which are ongoing, and some of them I do manage. So the first is the Research Communities of Practice, RCOP program, which is in its second year of implementation. And in this program, what we tend to do is to build the research capacities of early career researchers, which is broadly defined as people who have just finished the first degrees, or they finished the first masters, or they are in the early days of their PhD or post-PhD. So it's a very generous program that doesn't really restrict you to have a PhD for you to be conceived as an early career researcher. So what we've done is to train the first cohort of early career researchers. So we did train 18 of them in the last phase of the program. Some of our students were from Kakuma refugee camp, 6 of them. 12 were from the region, including, I think, Somalis. We had, I can't remember exactly, but yeah, we had 4 Somalis, 2 Somalilanders, a number of them are from other parts of the Horn. I know Somalis, when I say Somalilanders, you don't want, but for Somalilanders, they always insist that we separate the two. So that's why I'm trying to be correct here, so that I don't get crucified. I'm sensitive to that kind of, yeah, they're all the same. So in this platform, they're all the same. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, so simply put, the RCP program is very generous, and we do extend our invitations to Somalis, wherever they are, whether in Somaliland, whether in Somalia, whether they're in Kenya. And we're in the second phase of this program now. Currently, we have 9 students, and 4 of them are women. Clap for us. So we try to balance on gender. We've trained, so we're training currently 4 women and 5 men from the Horn of Africa. And this time they're focusing on climate change, mobility, and gender. So we try to focus the attention to current events and current debates. We also have a number of writing workshops for early career researchers. So the first workshop that we did under this program was the Diaspora Humanitarians Project, under which Sahra is a beneficiary. She's one of our first cohorts in the PhD trainings. We are also having the second session of training in next year, January. If you've had a PhD, you can apply. And the training will be conducted between 31st of January and 2nd February. So in this program, we do train PhD students and those who have just finished their PhDs, ways of putting their thoughts and articles into academic journals. We also have another forthcoming project that is going to be run by one of our programs, the Somali Dialogue Platform, which is a platform that is dedicated to to building the capacity of Somalis to overcome the conflict. So this is a very interesting programming that they have infused the programming with training women early career researchers in terms of building their expertise in policy research. So put your ears out there. The call for applications is coming soon. And those who will train you want to be strangers, but people that you know, people that are Somali who know the context. And yeah, and of course, they will speak about Somali experiences as you try to do here. So in short, what we do at the RVI is to build the capacities of early career researchers. And we have a number of programs which are ongoing. Some are being thought about. We're trying to seek for additional funding to improve on these projects. So it's up to you to, if we send applications, you have to send an application. If we send calls for applications, it's up to you to apply. We can't drag you by the hand. There has to be that interest from you as a woman or as an early career researcher. Besides the RVI and the BIA, we also have a sister institution here, IFRA, which is the French Institute. Just like the BIA, they also have a number of field grants for young scholars like you and I. We also have, when you went for lunch, there was some green stuff that you saw around, right? So that complex that you saw that is painted green is also one of the research institutions here, and it is known as the Refugee-Led Research Hub. And I think it has a partnership with Oxford University. It does prepare PhD students. No, it does prepare refugees for careers in research, but also in master's program and many other projects that they run across in Dadaab and in other parts of the region. Fifth, we have the Mawazo Institute. If you look at your banner for today, there is on your left, there is Mawazo Institute, which is Swahili word. If you speak Swahili, you know Mawazo means ideas. So in that spirit of ideas, Mawazo is interested in empowering leadership and research among women in Africa. And partly that explains why they have, I think, partly been involved in this training or rather workshop today. Apart from Mawazo, so please check the website of Mawazo and see what they do and how you fit into their programs. We also have CODESRIA, which is the Council for Development of Social Science Research in Africa. It is based in Senegal, a Pan-African institution where the focus has been on training, providing grants and fellowships to African scholars that broadly covers the entire continent. And what you can look for, the CODESRIA website, is a number of things. You can look at their annual thematic institutes where they invite scholars to be resident in Dakar. They also have grants which support PhD students. They also have fellowships for advanced humanities. Apart from those training opportunities, we also have a number of scholarship opportunities for you. And these are not specific to just women, but also broadly young scholars. So the first one that is not really confined to any geographical location is scholarshippositions.com. So this is a website that will direct you to a number of opportunities, whether it is in Iran, South Africa, Kenya, Uganda. So it has so much information out there on how to get scholarships, whether it is in master's programs, PhD programs, postdoc programs, and so many other things. Again, for this website, you can also just do a random Google search, and then you subscribe, then you will be occasionally getting updates from them on available opportunities. Then we have the German Foundation, the DAAD. I can't pronounce the full name in German because I don't speak German, but the DAAD also has a number of grants and opportunities for fellowship and training and PhD and many other things. My own brother did benefit from this program, so it's actually a reality, it works. We also have with us the African Leadership Center, which is based in Lavington, one of the suburbs in Nairobi, not so far away from here. And this center that is known as the ALC by its acronym is a joint collaboration between the University of Nairobi and King's College London. So there are two streams of scholarships. One is particularly for women, and the other is an open platform where both men and women can apply to do their master's degree. So recipients of this scholarship scheme go to England, King's College London, do their master's in 9 months, then they come back. I know many of my colleagues or friends who have been beneficiaries of this program. So they also have annual calls for application. So look into the website and see what is there. Then the MasterCard Foundation is one of the new entrants into providing scholarships. I just recently saw a call for applications. I hope they haven't closed the link. So you can also look into that and see if you are eligible to apply. So they place you into, I think it is Cambridge University, but also increasingly I'm seeing some of the students being placed in Kenya at the USIU. So if you're a Somali Kenyan, you can try your luck as well. There's also a new call for applications for students. I also know my own village mates who are ladies who have been beneficiaries and they are still pursuing their studies. So in short, we have numerous opportunities in the region and abroad where you can either apply to be a research trainee, or you can do a master's degree or a PhD, which will enhance your capacities to be researchers, to be trainers, and also to be educators. So I think that is all. But the ball is on you as young people who are thirsty for knowledge, who are thirsty for success in academia, for higher education. Thank you so much. Yeah, so if you look at this scholarship, positions.com, it has PhD scholarship opportunities. DAAD has PhDs. I'm not sure about ALC and MasterCard Foundation, but the first two can give you pathways. We also have Chevering. I didn't put it here because I wasn't sure about whether Somalis are eligible, but I know that Kenyan Somalis can apply for Chevening scholarship that is administered by the UK, and they take students again abroad to the UK to study. And then again, I also know my friend who did a master's at Warwick in the UK through Chevening scholarship. So these things actually work because we've seen real people benefit from them. And it's not that difficult because if someone like me can get them, then why not you? So just to declare, when I was looking for a PhD scholarship, but also master's, I went to this first link that I was talking about, that scholarshippositions.com, and I found a number of different opportunities. And then I did try my luck in a number of them. And I had applied to 5 different institutions before I got the actual place that I went to. So again, the trick is to apply for as many openings as possible to increase your chances of getting them. I just mentioned as one of the graduate attaches from the BIA who is a beneficiary of such programs that I was talking about.
Yeah, fantastic. No, this is very, very useful, isn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, applause for Geoffrey, really. This, when you go to conferences like this, that, whole day sitting, tiring, energy consume. But when you walk away with a list like this, at least you think, yeah, it's worth it because I have a long list of opportunities, isn't it? And that really was, one of our objectives for today. Okay, our next speaker is Eric, and then we will have Nasra, who's joining us online. Eric, the floor is yours. You will share with us your experiences working with Somali refugees in the refugee camps in Kenya. Welcome.
I sent somebody the slides.
You sent me? Oh,
okay. Good afternoon, good evening, almost there. The slides are in. So perhaps if I just talk a little bit about the scholarships. Some of these things are quite competitive. So you need sometimes to sit with somebody to assist you to be able to get them. It's not that easy. The Chevening scholarships or the Chevening, for instance, is only 4 questions that require you to write up to about 500 words. And I don't think they care so much about your certificates. They just look at what kind of answers you have given to these 4 questions. I am one person I've dedicated my way of giving back to the society to sit with the young aspiring scholars to be able to assist them to navigate some of these very complex scholarship fields and to be able to show them. I'm not an expert in it, but at least I try to walk with you through the journey. And so far, we are doing quite well. At least I have a network of about 20 students currently in Europe, including a Somali actually, at KU Leuven in Belgium. And it takes that initiative that you see something that you qualify for and you go for it. You get assistance, not just from me, but also from her, from others, because a lot of people miss these opportunities, not because they are stupid or anything, but simply because there is a specific requirement and you may not do it according to how the committee wants. And therefore, it's very important to have an eye, to have somebody look at your work eventually. So I'll be presenting, my name is Eric Kyoko, for those who did not get my name. My name is Eric Kyoko. I'm a social anthropologist by training. And I am not an expert on Somali studies or refugee studies. But last week, with the colleague of mine who left, we had a chance to visit the Dadaab and to visit the 3 main refugee camps. And I just wanted to start by asking, any one of us who has ever gone to the Dadaab? By show of hands. Anybody? I can't see anybody online. So none of us has ever been to Dadaab, to any of these refugee camps. You have at least one person. Which one? Which camp? Agadera. Okay, interesting. When we started the journey, as he sets up the PowerPoint, we realized that that is the most difficult thing actually to even be able to do as a Kenyan, because you need a permit to go to the refugee camps from the Directorate of Refugee Services, they call it. And we were kept there from 10 in the morning up to around 4, just waiting for somebody to sign the document. And I got concerned, if I'm a Kenyan, if that is how I'm treated, what about a refugee? And that is how the experience of going to the refugee camps started. And then we had to be asked, are you guys going to use any security? Do you have a security vehicle that will actually advance? So will we need any protection? In fact, some of the organizations were putting it clearly that you can't actually just drive from Garissa to Dadaab, which is about roughly 2 hours. The road is extremely bad, but at least you take 3 hours if you don't want to mess your vehicle. So the very first route when we were going to Dadaab, literally I was flying because I was the driver. We didn't have any escort, security escort, because security escort sometimes attracts attention. And therefore, we have had experiences where as long as you have a security vehicle with you, then you can become a target because you are presumed to be a big person in government or in the UN system or whatever. So we didn't want to appear as though we were big or anything, but just normal researchers who went on giving lifts to whoever just flagged our vehicle. So eventually at one point we had a full house. We were just throwing guys at the back of the vehicle. We were driving a pickup that had space at the back. So that is the experience that you actually realize when you're going there, that Dadaab is actually like a part of Kenya that does not exist. And for the Somalis in Nairobi, actually, those who have never been there, it is a place that you would actually even feel the shivers to even want to visit. So some people call it a God-forsaken place. And this is a place that has over 240,000 Somali refugees, mainly Somali refugees. So I didn't take this photo. I decided because the time had rushed and I'm presenting in the evening, I show you quite a number of photos. So this is from Getty Images. If you are working with them, please don't sue me because I cannot be able to pay any monies to use that image. So that is one of the refugee camps. And why we were going there is simply because we were doing a short consultancy to assess or to evaluate this program. They just call it ABLIG, but it was Area-Based Livelihood Initiative in Garissa. At first, when we were signing off the documents, we thought that it is just in Garissa until we realized it is actually in Dadaab, in the refugee camps. So this is a EUTF, European Union Trust Fund funded project that started particularly in the early 2000s when the refugee crisis became a big issue with people crossing through the Maghreb to Spain, to the nearest parts of Europe. And so the EU decided, why don't we invest in refugees so that we can make their lives better wherever they are, so that they don't have to take the long journey. As an academic, I tell you that is a big joke. As a consultant, I tell you, okay, we will see whether it worked. And that is what we wanted to go and check. So these projects involved a number of activities, including agricultural activities in the refugee camps, but also tertiary training. So we had people trained, particularly youths below the 40s, trained on various skills. The TVET training, we now know it in Kenya as TVET, the skills-driven training. So that would be tailoring, plumbing, electrical and whatever appliances, solar systems, etc. And so the idea was that these people are given the chance to be able to earn a living when they are still in the camps.
So what I'm trying to go towards is just to paint a background of the refugee camps and the kind of things that are happening. In the next photo, you see, this is where the world meets the refugees. The who is who in refugee circles is represented, as you can see here. So that is in Hagadera, but the same kind of advertisements are in all the other refugee camps where you have all the UN refugee institutions are based there, including faith-based as well. And then you ask yourself, if all these guys are there, why does the situation not change? Right? I'll still come back to that if I have time. But the main concern was, even for me as an academic, that is a reflection as an academic, for these agencies to try to make refugees more comfortable in a refugee camp so that they don't take the long route to Europe. Does it really even make sense to start with? Because from where I stand, refugees have the right to seek asylum wherever they want, isn't it? I will not be very critical on some of these. I have a lot of stories to tell about this, but I don't know who is online and whether I will be called out. So I don't want to go into the depth of trying to unpack what really it means. But the summary I get from this is that there's so much creation of a security concern. There's so much presence of the international community in terms of NGOs, international NGOs, to perpetrate the continuation of a system, I think, of refugees there, the UN system here, and the trend continues. And a number of people are given or win green cards. Others have waited for 30 years since they were born. But then you are given a little bit of 6 people, 3 families, 10 families. What about the rest? So there's that kind of a system that is ongoing, and I can unpack it further, but I don't want to be able to do so. So what did we do? We sort of did a 1-week kind of an activity where we sat down with different groups. We did focus group discussions. That is my colleague. She was here earlier. And here she was talking to refugee women who have been funded through the project to start up businesses or to expand their businesses. And there I was talking to the TVET trainers. So these are they call them the national trainers, people or trainees who are Kenyans. Here we were talking to refugee women only who have benefited through this tailoring, dressmaking, henna, and whatever kind of trainings. And here are some of the employees of these guys, those who have been funded. So the program would fund a shop to expand, and then would expect that shop employs somebody to also earn a living out of that. So we did so much of this within a week, and in all the refugee camps. And while we were not doing it really to follow up on issues about education, this is something that was always coming up, particularly primary level education, secondary level. So I will not be talking about impediments that are at at master's, PhD levels, but what your sisters and brothers go through in that area. So this is a diagram. I didn't have so much time to prepare, so I picked this diagram just to indicate that Dadaab, which is right there, is the largest refugee camp with 240,000 people and still counting. And you can see the countries they come from, at least mainly Somalia for Dadaab, but also we have a number of Ethiopians, we have Sudanese also in the same area. So the main refugee camps are Dagale, Ifo, and Hagadesa, hosting mainly refugees from Somalia. We are talking about 90+%. And then the first wave, I think we all know, since 1990 with the civil war, the next wave coming through from 2011 due to the drought and famine.
I don't like to call people climate refugees because there's so much literature that tries to sort of not use such terminologies when referring to refugees. So the DAB now hosting over 240,000 refugees at the moment. So some of the barriers that after sitting down, going through the interviews, we did a lot of interviews, a lot of recordings, and we could just come up with a number of barriers that the difficult path to gain an education in a refugee context. And I'll be discussing this very shortly. And if you have questions about any of these, please feel free to ask. So that is the Dagahali refugee camp. This is like the shopping center, a lot of small shops that are interconnected. And then the households will be a little bit further from here. So we have social barriers, cultural barriers, financial barriers, contextual barriers, and a little bit of structural barriers. So I'll just go directly to them. These are photos that we were taking from some of these training centers where the project funded these organizations to implement trainings in terms of ICT, among others. And we have the authorization to use these photos. I know there are very people who are always very sensitive. So we had signed consents to be able to use these photos or to take them. So some of the social barriers unlike the refugee side, the Somali side in Nairobi or elsewhere in Kenya, we have a lot of refugees that are still suffering trauma after these forced movements, right? And when we were discussing with them, somebody was saying, how do you expect even a kid that has gone through this to even concentrate in class? So trauma is still very, very, very active to date. And we have these lessons, we have these examples of people pouring their hearts and telling you what they have actually gone through. And then you realize at that moment, for them, education is not even a priority. For them, it's all about healing the heart or healing, then go on. Unfortunately, of course, some of the international NGOs have the presence of counselors, but this is not enough. And again, some of the counselors are then national. So it also brings that barrier, whether you can actually open up to somebody that is actually being trained to talk to you in a way that you have to come up with the answer yourself. Mostly what counselors do. So what have you gone through? What do you think needs to be done? Why don't you then practice that? So they still help some people, but not everyone. Of course, the refugee context or situation leads to family breakups. Some people left, others are still in Somalia, others are still on the route, others already in the refugee camps. Perhaps one or two got lucky, got a green card, and so that kind of a situation where families are breaking. And at one point, in fact, one of the examples that I remember is that one of the refugee ladies was married to a Kenyan, and then they got the green card. And the question was, who stays with the kid? Because it is not the Kenyan going, it is the refugee, because she has a status, a registration as a refugee in the country. So this is what you are confronted with on a daily basis there. So there's a lot of family breakups. We have uneducated parents. I think the first presenter after the tea break was mentioning about this. If the parents are not really educated or never attained any education, then they may not see the importance for that for their kids. Some of the kids that we were looking at or at least observing have been socialized through the refugee context. So these people know no other form of socialization, that they wake up in a refugee context, they are born in a refugee context, and that is all they see. Some of them have never even been able to know anything beyond the refugee camps. So they do not even know that we have a forum, or even whether we have refugees in Nairobi, we have Somalis in Nairobi. They have no idea. Then the late schooling, when we talked to the trainers, they said that perhaps somebody dropped out in class 7, and through the project, we have been asked to train them on these skills like tailoring, plumbing, etc. So this person is completely literate by the time you are actually, maybe they finished in 2021, the project is starting in 2023, or sorry, in 2000s, the project is starting almost 10 years since this person last sat in a class. So you start you're actually dealing with very illiterate people who, again, are mature enough, they have families, they have husbands, they have responsibilities, and yet even the basic reading and writing becomes a challenge. So those are social barriers. I classify them. Cultural, this has been talked about since morning. The one thing that I want you to know is that these things are active as we speak. The social construction of gender, women and their household chores, women as housewives, to the extent that Somali men would not be very comfortable with their women going to school or even working. We had examples of men who told their wives, you know what, if you're going to that, please, can you just go away? So there is high divorce rates. The first photo I showed you of these women, all of them are very successful business women, all except one divorced. So they got a little bit training. They started their shops. They are doing well. And then their men are not. So some of them were actually, you listen to the recording, and they are literally talking a lot of bad things about their own husbands as useless people, as this and that, as people who cannot allow their women to be free. So it was really, at one point, my colleague had to stop the recording because it was getting very sensitive. So there's that. So that is very, very strong as we speak. The gender aspect. Early marriages still exist. Yeah, we have kids as young as 11, 12, 13, 15 being married off so that somebody can get a little bit of bride wealth. And of course, FGM then accelerates that because it prepares them for being wives or being mature or being perceived to be women. I've done so much on FGM. I can tell you who is pushing it, who is not. Usually in some of these forums, you say it is women, and no, it is not. It is our men. But in other contexts, you look at it keenly and you notice that we really need to discuss this issue. Who is pushing it? Is it men or is it women? So that's, as you continue with your educations, you really know where the problem is coming from. Yeah. So FGM, I made a joke with Hamdi, who was here, that, you know what, I'm coming here, I'm also looking for a Somali wife. And he told me, all of them are circumcised. So do you want one that is circumcised? And no, I need, then, I was just trying to understand what kind of experiences these people go through as a way of joking and getting the answers from this kind of a person. And he explained what they go through anyway. Separatedness between men and women, you can also see in this photo that due to various reasons, religion included, there is that separatedness, that men should be here, women should be here. Even eating, we had to tell our lady, there's a room for you behind there. You cannot sit with men. If you go to the Dadaab, most of the restaurants have a space for women to go and eat. Don't eat when men are looking at you. The same in these cybers, a space for women. And this goes on in life, that women cannot express themselves before men. We had interviews or focus group discussions where we mixed both men and women. The women did not say anything. But we wanted to try and see whether it is possible. So that separatedness for me as an anthropologist is problematic. Because even in education, you see that. Who should consult who? Can a lady consult a gentleman for assistance in ICT skills? So this goes on in all spheres of life, not just in education, but think about everything. There is that separatedness. You will never see women sitting somewhere and discussing things with men. In the evenings in the Dadaab, men are playing football in very dusty fields. Women are somewhere in the houses. So again, that separatedness. All right, the threat of successful Somali women, at least I've talked about that the more successful you become in education or in business, the more threat you become to a man. I think this is a reality, isn't it? Yeah, so I'm looking at people that may not get married very soon. Anyway, but this is a reality. And of course, we saw it, and when we organized the focus group discussion, that was coming out clearly. Everybody was saying, women were saying, as long as you're making a living, then men consider you to be somebody with bad behaviors or whatever. So this is something that we need to really think about when we talk about education, careers for Somali women in general. Again, a lot of sexism when it comes to education, even the courses that were chosen for specific people who are sexist, in the sense, tailoring is, this is for women, not for men. Only one gentleman said that I'm a qualified trainer. I'm almost finishing. So this affects ladies who can transit to STEM kind of sciences, if they are only being pushed or whatever to do that. I think I will not go through all this. One thing I wanted to mention is that, particularly for financial barriers, you have to think about the poor Somalis and the rich ones, because the rich ones, and I can see most of them here, their families could afford an education, not about the poor ones. Hosts, as somebody said that we are all equal as Somalis. No, they told us we are not. The hosts have more opportunities. They can travel to Nairobi and get goods and go back. The refugees must find an acquaintance or a friend to send them to Nairobi to pick some supplies, but this person can decide to disappear. And they told us that we are discriminated against by our own Somalis who are the hosts. So that is the refugees. Networks, of course, we have Somalis who are networked internationally, Nairobi, Garissa, elsewhere, and those who are not. So this also affects education. Contextual barriers, I will not say so much about that. Security, prioritization, and education. Survival is a primary need. Let me talk about structural barriers. These guys described the DAB as an open prison. You can move within the compound, but you cannot board a matatu, a bus, to come to Garissa. So it's a prison in itself, an open prison. Yeah. So they cannot move, because for you to move from the DAB to Garissa, you need a travel permit. And it indicates how many days you are gone and whatever. And you have to pay. So they were saying that if you want a trip to Garissa, you have to pay somebody in the camps 10,000 shillings. Every police stop, you have to pay 200 shillings as a refugee, whether you have the travel permit or not. So you calculate the transaction costs that you'll have to go through to get to Garissa. And then you realize that yes. So it's literally a prison. And yet we are discussing international human rights, refugees as people with rights. That is the illusion of refugee rights. I think we are reading so much in literature or whatever the UNHCR and whoever, I hope they will give me a consultancy next time, says about refugee rights. But I think we really need to critically examine this, because I felt like these guys are just in that open prison where they cannot even move. Travel restrictions, I talked about that. Low quality education, our speakers talked about that, where the camps have schools, but very untrained teachers that are not sensitive to refugee conditions or status. I give you an example. A brother goes to school, leaves the sister doing some household chores. When the sister comes to school late, then she's beaten. How did your brother manage to come to school early and you are coming an hour later? So they are punished, yet they are being held by some of the gender roles. So that is Hagadera. We still have some success stories. A woman that was funded, at least she managed to buy the 2 fridges. She can sell some refreshments. So that's a success story in that context. I think we have quite local level groups that never have any voice beyond the DAB. And I think it is necessary to sort of reflect on all this and think about these organizations out there, like this one, Umbrella Women Group in Hagadera. And I think they are doing something good. There's a lot of advertisement of sexual exploitation is not yet, we see it on a daily basis in the refugee camps. Cases of early marriages, cases of FGM, cases of rape cases. One was being handled only on Friday when I was there. So, guys, this is what I had, and yeah, I leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Eric, for a very informative and moving presentation about Somali refugees in the refugee camps in Kenya. A lot to unpack, really. I have a lot to say. I had many questions, but we don't have much time. And also, Nasra is online, our last speaker for today. She has been patiently waiting. And let's hear from Nasra straight on. We will not have a lot of time for discussion. Nasra, are you there?
Yes, Sarah, I'm here. I hope you can hear me.
Oh, okay, fantastic. So Nasra is from a consultancy firm called Fruition. I don't know how you pronounce this, but you will tell us, Nasra.
Yes,
She will speak about a topic on Mind Matters, elevating women's academic success through mental wellness. Welcome, Nasra. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sahra. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for this wonderful conference. I really enjoyed myself. I feel like I've learned so much. And being a last speaker, I don't know, I'm going to address a group of people who I believe are tired and they want to go have the afternoon tea. But just bear with me. I'll be fast and I want to be, detailed. I hope that I'm audible enough.
I can hear you very well. Loud and clear.
Great. Yeah, just to start off, I would like to thank Eric for creating this really powerful portrayal of, the refugee camps. I've never been to a refugee camp, and it's really resonated with me in some way. Anyway, starting off, my topic is about elevating women's academic success through mental wellness. And these are women who are in academia and research. So I'm just going to do it fast because of time. So I would like to, of course, thank Somali Gender Hub for organizing this conference and for you, Sarah, as well. Thank you. So as we embark on this journey to talk about the importance of mental wellness, specifically focusing on how it can elevate women achievements in these particular domains. So starting off, we're going to acknowledge that, when you're pursuing academia, it's, of course, really incredibly rewarding, but also quite challenging, especially for women, Somali women at that. We'll delve into the impact of mental wellness on academic performance, discuss fieldwork stressors, the role of therapy, peer support networks, managing expectations, and of course, preventing burnout while you're going through this process. So we're going to start off talking about mental health in the fieldwork. As a researcher, of course, fieldwork is such an integral part of academic disciplines, and it can be quite physically and mentally demanding. So women researchers in particular may face additional challenges such as safety concerns, secondary traumas, and trying to balance family responsibilities. When I talk about safety concerns, of course, mostly as a woman, the first thing you think about when you're going out to the field is this place safe enough for me? Because now you're leaving a safe space and you're being thrusted into this unfamiliar space, and you don't know, how it is, what's going on that. So the first thing you'll think about is it safe? Am I safe here? Which I believe the male counterparts don't really think about as much as we do. So moving forward, we're going to talk about, that was in fieldwork, so mental health in academia. So of course, academic life, it comes with high pressure environments. It has rigorous schedule, it has fierce competitions. And if you're someone who has a type A personality, you have all these, unmanageable goals that you put upon yourself and you cannot do them. In the end, you end up struggling with burnout. So what are the recommendations for those two kinds of people? The first is, of course, therapy. And in the Somali community, you know, the kind of image that has been embedded in our mind is, you know, someone who has mental health issues is that person walking on the streets, rummaging through, you know, rubbish, who's dressed in rags and, you know, half naked. That's what we think is someone who has mental health issues. We don't really believe that you can have all these other problems like stress, like panic attacks, burnout, depression, and all this. It's not part of our culture. So, of course, therapy provides a safe space to navigate academic stressors. It helps manage anxiety and build resilience. So the next recommendation is peer support network. So building a strong support system can improve mental wellness. You know, for you to be fully functioning, we all need community. We all need people that we trust. We can't really, as human beings, I believe that we can't survive alone. We need people to survive. And so it's important to create that kind of support network that will help you and provide that support that you need. The other recommendation is managing expectations and preventing burnout. Now, as most academicians, you know, you have these unrealistic goals for yourself. You want to do so much in such a short time. And in the end, you know, burnout is such a real risk in academia. And of course, due to heavy workloads and high expectations, you'll end up going through some kind of burnout, which is really quite depressive. So the most important thing to do here is, of course, self-care, time management, and try to have some type of work-life balance, which is essential through your process. So, of course, I'll just finish up. In conclusion, mental wellness is vital. It's very important in everybody's life. So especially for a woman, if you're in academia and you have all these responsibilities, the family is waiting for you, you're either a wife or you're a mom and all that. So trying to balance all this can be quite overwhelming. And so it's important to address these challenging issues, seek therapy, create a safe environment for yourself, and try to manage your time, manage your expectations. And of course, you have to remember, you know, the path to success is not only about academic achievements, but also about maintaining a healthy and fulfilling life. And I think I'm done. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Nasra, for that short and very powerful presentation. You were really on point. Very well structured presentation. Thank you. I think there is a lot of, you know, the questions and comments, but I will, you know, try and I will conclude, you know, and try to close the ceremony now, at the conference rather. I would like to thank, you know, all the speakers. Can we have the light on, please? Samson, you want to join? So basically, we've come to the end, really. I know that you may have some questions and comments for our speakers. You know, the last few speakers, we didn't really have any time to debate on or discuss some of the important things they mentioned. But, you know, we can always follow up somehow. You know, if you have burning questions or if you didn't understand something, one thing that's good to know is that we have recorded this session, so you can always look back. We're going to put it up on our YouTube after we have, you know, after a while, and so you can always look back on that. That's one thing. Second thing, if you have any comments about the speakers that just spoke, you can always reach out to me, right? If you want to, you know, speak with them, or if you had a question, or one thing I can also tell you is that all the PowerPoint presentations will be shared. So I will ask Geoffrey and Eric, as well as Naraida, to kindly share the presentations, the PowerPoint presentations they used, and all the other speakers actually with us, including Professor Fatima. Yeah, so, and I will share that with you. If you're interested, reach out to me. So finally, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of this conference, but I think there's especially from the Somali women that I have spoken with, there is interest in continuing continuing staying connected. And for that purpose, I would like to let you know that we have set up a network, a Somali Women Researchers Network on Google Groups. It's a kind of a mailing list where we can add you, and we will be posting there resources and opportunities as they come to us, and to you as well, because you might come across an important report or an important training happening online or somewhere physical, and you can share that opportunity with us as well. So it's kind of a, opportunity sharing platform. If you're interested, there's a form that's circulating. Please, this is only for the women. This is a women's network platform, so exclusive for women. Please put your email in bold letters, because there were people who applied, who registered for this conference, but their emails were bouncing back to us because they forgot a dot, or they forgot an at, or they didn't write their emails correctly. So please put your email very, very clearly, so that we can stay connected. So we initially had planned to present some of the highlights of this conference, just as a recap, what really stood out for us. And Samsam is going to, in 1 minute, share with us what really stood out, just, from the beginning onwards. We had a number of keynote speakers, we had a number of panelists, we had guest speakers who spoke about opportunities. As Jeffrey was speaking, there was somebody WhatsApping me, can I have that PowerPoint presentation with the scholarships? There's a lot of demand for financial support in higher education. So we will definitely make that available to you if you didn't, if you weren't able to take a snapshot or to write it down. No problem. 1 minute, Samsam, what really stood out for you? Yeah, just anywhere. 1 minute, 1 minute.
It's okay. Good evening once again. And some of the main things that stood out for me, or observations, is education. Somali female education is a social responsibility. We have seen different researchers, male researchers, So that is one thing. Okay, that is one thing that has really stood out for me. And then the power of role model and mentorship. Our first two speakers of the day were really, their speech was really powerful. And then we can find solutions and share problems through coming up with our own programs. Thanks to Somali Gender Hub. And research is an interesting field, only with the right guidance and getting access to practicalities and the similarities of challenges across borders.
Yeah.
Somali women in Kenya, in Somalia, everywhere we face the same challenges, be it period poverty, lack of access to education, the policies around us, That is something that really also made me more emotional. And then language is not also a measure of knowledge. I was really happy to see the inclusivity of diversity. Sharing research in Somali and both English today was also a first for me. And moving mountains to seek education beyond our own borders. We have seen students from the UK, Somali Kenyans, Somali Somalia, different kind of universities being presented. And finally, opportunities are everywhere, but only through such programs can we identify those opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samson, for that recap. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all our speakers for today, beginning with Silvia from the Mawazo Institute, followed by Professor Fatima Ahmed Ali, Fatima Ali Saman. Then we had a panel of Amal, Hodman, Leyla, and Samsam. Then we had another panel, Zakaria, Faduma, and Ikram. We had the book launch with Naraida. Thank you all very much. And then we just had Geoffrey, Eric, and Nasra speak about, their own experiences and different research projects. I would like to thank you all for being here until this time. Really, it means a lot. And it says also a lot about your patience and perseverance, and in fact, also respect for us. So we are very, acknowledged. We acknowledge that. And so thank you very much for still being here. Also to our participants online, I can see that there are still 12 or 13 people online. Thank you very much. I would like to thank you all and have a fantastic day. And yeah, goodbye. See, until next time. Yeah, let's have a group photo by this banner, perhaps, if possible. Thank you.